Welcome. I'm about to lay out for you the structure with which I view all of my interactions with women. I have logically broken down everything I do into the most fundamental components that I possibly could. In this program, you're going to hear me explain all of my important philosophies alongside a lot of real-life examples. There will be hidden camera clips of not only myself, but also of my past students to help explain all the important concepts. The program is cumulative and is fairly concise, so try to watch it in the order that it is presented. It will help you understand everything and it will build upon itself. I've designed it in such a way that it is very simple, practical, and sustainable. Anybody can apply it regardless of what level they're at. I find that a lot of guys tend to overcomplicate things, so I didn't want to add on to that. I tried to refine my 5 years of experience into a very simple and easy to follow system without leaving out any important information. In other words, everything that I present to you in this product is something that you absolutely need to know. The result of all which will be some serious swag. Now, it may not be hard for someone to imagine why I could have had issues with women growing up. Because I didn't grow much. I'm 5'2". I'm relatively short. But before high school, I never really had many issues with girls. I had normal issues, like any other guy out there. In some cases, girls even liked me. This is because before high school, I never judged myself in the mirror. I never compared myself to others. I never thought that I was too short or too ugly or too hairy, because then I didn't have as much hair. Then, as I entered high school, things began to change. I started looking at myself in the mirror and judging myself. I started comparing myself to other guys. And the more I compared myself, the more my self-esteem began to drop. And the girls that I ended up liking, they ended up dating taller, better-looking guys, and that only dropped my self-esteem even more. In some cases, these girls, or even some of my friends, would make fun of me because I'm short. And at some point I started feeling like I just wasn't enough. This of course led me to become more and more introverted, especially when talking to girls. I stopped believing that girls could actually like me because I didn't really fit into the molds of what an attractive guy should look like. In some cases, when girls did show interest in me, I wouldn't take them seriously. I would think that they are pranking me. So I was very stifled when it came to interacting with girls. But I didn't let it stifle other areas of my life. In high school, I played a lot of sports. I got good grades. I got into a great university. I held leadership positions at various clubs. I had a good social circle. I even played in a rock band. That's right. I was the lead guitarist in a rock band and I still couldn't get chicks. How messed up is that? Despite these accomplishments, I still lack that confidence to just simply interact with a girl and be myself. There remained some kind of deep insecurity that I wasn't addressing. At some point I realized that either I was just completely hopeless and I should just give up, or there was some kind of fundamental flaw in my psychology that I had control over. Most of my friends, who maybe weren't as impressive on paper, had a lot more confidence when it came to talking to girls. Now, in most cases, they were much taller and better looking than me, but I decided I could no longer make that excuse. I knew that my overall life had a lot more potential if I just figured this out. And so I decided to take a leap of faith and face the issue head on. Let me tell you, the process was not easy and was not natural. In fact, the very first approach I did on the street, my knees literally began to shake. I realized it was going to be a long journey, but what choice did I have? One of the first concepts I tell my students is that of the paradox of pickup. On the one hand, you are already enough to get a girl. We could probably go out and find yourself a girl. The fact that you have a pair of balls is sufficient. On the other hand, you suck shit with girls. You are terrible and you have so much to work on. Now, when most guys hear that somebody is seeking help when it comes to, getting girls, they'll kind of look at them and say, dudes, just be confident, be yourself. And they're right to an extent. If you just want a girl, if you just want a girlfriend, that's all you have to do. Be confident and be yourself, and you'll find the right fit for you. But this program is a lot more than just that. It goes far beyond just meeting a girl. It is about self-improvement. It's the other side of the paradox. It is about developing social freedom and feeling comfortable in your own skin. It's about having the balls to approach any girl in any situation in any part of the world. It is about developing the attitude that lets you walk through the world with ease. And it is about learning some rules and tools to help you deal with challenges with women and with life. As you go along your journey, I urge you to be as honest with yourself as possible. Face reality head on. Don't be afraid of the truth. The more honest you are with yourself, the faster you're going to progress. And as you go through this product, always ask yourself, is this true? Does what I say fit in with what you believe and what you value and what you have experienced in life? Does it make sense? If it doesn't make sense to you, discard it and move on. The reality is, there are no absolutes in life. There are exceptions to every rule, and every situation depends on many different variables. But what I've laid out for you is what I believe to be the highest probability action steps towards consistent success. As you become more advanced, you're going to find exceptions to every rule, and you'll understand that there are principles and then there's exceptions. Maybe you've picked up a girl in the past with very poor body language, and you'll say, well, his body language techniques aren't true. Well, they're not true 100% of the time, but they are true maybe 90% of the time. And that's how you should view everything that I say. It's true a certain percentage of the time, not all the time. If you're a beginner, try to apply the concepts as much as possible. They will work in your favor. As you get more experienced, you're going to develop your own style and your own game. Also, I've used a few clips from past students to illustrate certain examples, primarily in the form of mistakes that guys made. I've made all these mistakes. You probably have as well. So I just ask not to judge the guys. I've taken some of the more extreme examples to illustrate the concepts more clearly. In other words, they allowed me to use their footage, so try to learn as much from it as possible. Many guys get hung up on their appearance. They blame their height or their looks for their lack of results with women. Now, your appearance does matter. If you are tall and good looking, you'll have a lot easier time in getting girls. But what you will learn as you go along and get more experiences is that girls respond much more to your behavior than they do to your appearance. Society primarily idolizes women of beauty and men of character. This goes back to ancient times and will never change. Behavior is much more instrumental in determining a man's value than is his appearance. We are inspired by men who are leaders, who are warriors, who are rock stars. These are outcomes all based on behavioral traits. The appearance of a man isn't as important as the appearance of a woman. Things like height and looks don't matter as much as long as they fall within a relatively normal range. If you are an outlier, like myself at 5'2", you have to work a little extra hard. But in the long run, it will pay off. Finally, I want you to notice that as you grow older and as you invest in yourself, psychologically, physically, socially, your appearance will actually begin to transform and you will get better looking. You see, your appearance is part physical, but it is part grooming and part energy. As you take more action in your life, you will start to feel more alive and it will come through in your interactions with people. When you feel amazing, people will tell you that you look amazing. On the flip side, If you don't take care of yourself and you don't invest in yourself, you will look like shit. So, the point is, focus on your behavior and your habits, both of which you have control over. Welcome to Short Guy Game. This is the lens through which I view game. I lay out all the pieces of the puzzle to help you get better, faster, to help you understand, and to give you a framework to work with. And I promise not to clutter your brain, so I only included stuff that actually matters. In addition to all the theory, I've included tons of infield clips that exemplify all the lessons. Clips of myself that demonstrate what to do, and clips of my past students that demonstrate what not to do. By the end of this program, you'll understand how I'm able to pull much taller girls than me, how I can make any girl laugh, and why I have the social freedom to talk to anyone I want. This program is essentially everything I wish I would have had when I first started out. And I hope the information is as helpful to you as it has been to me. Before we get into the practical how-to of everything, I want to go over my 2 rules. They represent my inner game. They drive my attitude, my perception of the world, and act as guiding forces on how to deal with difficult situations. I only have 2 rules. Why only 2, you ask? So I can remember them, because I used to overcomplicate things. Talking to a girl is supposed to be a natural thing. It shouldn't really have to be something men have to study. I know that I used to be a lot better with girls when I was 10 years old than I am today. Doesn't make much sense. Somewhere along the way, I started to think too much about things. And guess what? The guys that I know that are good with girls put a lot less thought into it than the guys who aren't good with girls. The 2 rules are so broad that they can be applied to any social interaction. They go far beyond just meeting girls. However, cold approaching girls is the fastest, most practical, and also most fun way to cultivate these overarching principles. So let's get right into it. Alright, rule number 1 is simply put, don't take anything too seriously. Now be careful. I'm not saying be disrespectful or take everything as a joke or become an anarchist. I'm just saying don't take things too seriously. I want you to realize 3 things. First of all, you probably don't look like James Bond, so stop trying to act like him. Secondly, there are approximately 7 billion people on this planet. You don't really care much about them, and they don't really care much about you. And third, realize all the absurdities that exist in this world, that defy all common sense. So don't take society's norms and expectations too seriously either. Why do I want you to realize these 3 things? Because when it comes to meeting girls, the 3 most common reasons why guys don't do it is because they're insecure about their physical appearance. Number 2, they're afraid of rejection and basically what other people will think of them. And number 3, they may not think it's socially acceptable to approach a girl in any situation. So, rule number 1, don't take any of that shit too serious. So, how did I begin to develop rule number 1? Well, a few years ago, I looked in the mirror and I said to myself, damn Boris, you don't look like no James Bond. You're 5'2" with a cleft lip. If you try to act cool and take yourself too seriously, people just see right over you. Literally. When I started cold approaching girls in the bars and clubs, I would get reactions like, you're too short for me. You don't have a chance. Or, sorry, I don't talk to midgets, and then they would just walk off. If I had listened to these girls, if I paid attention and I took what they were telling me too seriously, I probably should have jumped off a bridge the following day. But I'm still here today. Several years later, and I have an entire YouTube channel devoted to picking up taller girls. Haha. I still get girls telling me I'm too short for them, but I don't find it hurtful like I once did. Now I just find it funny. And this is all because of rule number 1. Rule number 1 is especially important if you have some kind of deep insecurity about something. Whatever it is. Could be your height, your looks, doesn't matter. If you take it too seriously, it's going to suppress you and suffocate you. So you have to see the humor in it and kind of brush it off and keep moving forward. Once upon a time, I used to obsess about what people thought of me. Then I realized they're not thinking much about me at all because they're too busy thinking about themselves. Ask yourself, when you go through your day, are you thinking about other people or are you thinking more about yourself? You're just 1 out of 7 billion people on this planet. Sorry to break it to you, but nobody really gives a shit about you. You're essentially a nobody. This may sound a little depressing at first, and maybe you'll think, well, so what's the purpose to life? Was there any meaning to life? But I want this to come across as a very liberating thought. Because people don't care so much about what you do, it gives you the freedom to actually do what you want to do. One weekend, I went out with a student, and the first day, I threw him into easier interactions. We would see a girl sitting by herself at a cafe or something, and I'd make him go approach, and he'd have, a 10-minute conversation. Or a girl would be waiting for a friend on the street corner, and he would go in and talk her up for a bit. And overall, it was a good experience. There were no rejections. They had kind of a vibe, and it was playful, and it was all good. The following night, I took him to some of the hottest clubs in the city, where we experienced a lot of harsh rejections and blowouts. But throughout the course of the night, as we realized how little it mattered, those particular interactions, we had more and more fun as the night progressed. And by the end of it, that second night, even though he got rejected 90% of the time, he ended up having way more fun overall than he did the previous night when he actually had some success. How did this make any sense? On the first night, he was a bit more attached to the outcome because there was a taste of the success. But on the second night, because of the harsh rejection and the blowouts, he became completely detached from the outcome. He didn't take the interaction seriously anymore, too seriously. And as a result, he became a lot more liberated and was able to just express himself freely and not give a shit what people thought of him. As a result, we laughed our ass off. Finally, if you think that society's norms and expectations suppress you in any way from going after what you want in life, I want you to realize that the world is meant to evolve, to change, and to move forward. The standards of yesterday are not the standards of today, and probably won't be the standards of tomorrow. We are meant to evolve and to change and to progress. In fact, if you start studying history, you'll realize how often society is wrong. Otherwise, we wouldn't make progress in the world. And to be quite frank, if you think that we're breaking society's rules by approaching a girl on the street and trying to flirt with her, well, then there's something definitely wrong with our world today. Okay, let's look at an example. Let's look at how the idea of marriage has evolved throughout human history. Now, in the modern day, marriage is viewed as the holy union between two people who love each other and want to spend the rest of their life together. This traditional view of marriage is actually not very traditional at all. It's a relatively recent form of marriage in the context of humanity as a whole. You see, throughout human history, marriage has been more a matter of money, power, and survival than it has been about love. Here's a very quick and basic timeline of marriage throughout the years. Approximately 4,000 years ago, the ruling class started marrying off their daughters with the purpose of creating stronger diplomatic and economic ties with other members of the ruling class. In medieval Europe, in the 12th century, there continued to be a lot of arranged marriages, and it was actually believed that marriage and love was incompatible. It wasn't until the 16th century that the Catholic Church made marriage a sacred ritual, and weddings began happening in public in front of witnesses. Romance never even entered the picture until the 17th or 18th centuries, during the period of Enlightenment, when people started considering love as the purpose behind the union of two people. Then, in the 19th century, as the middle class began to grow, especially in North America, people began to take control of their lives and marry without parental approval. And it wasn't really until the 20th century when marriage became more of an intimate experience. Dating and sex didn't really become popular until the 1920s, and equality didn't really surface until the 1970s. Ironically enough, it wasn't long after that the divorce rate began to skyrocket. So as you can see, our current idea of marriage and how it should be is not how it has been throughout history. And you can argue what's right and what's wrong, but the point is that it is constantly evolving and constantly changing. To be successful in any endeavor, you have to go through some highs and a lot of lows. The key to success is not to make too much of the highs nor the lows. If you take the lows too seriously, they're going to suffocate you. You're going to get depressed. You're going to get sad. You're going to want to give up. On the flip side, if you get a little bit too excited about your highs, you become complacent. You become cocky. You think you're the shit. And you're like, well, I don't need to learn anything new. I'm already good. Now, you probably understand why it's important not to let the lows suffocate you. But you may be wondering, why shouldn't I get too excited about my highs? Isn't that a good thing? Now, let's say you're a beginner and you want to go out and meet some girls. After a couple weeks of talking to strangers, you finally get your first phone number. You're excited. You think the phone number is going to lead to a date, it's going to lead to sex, it's going to lead to a girlfriend, it's going to lead to a happy life. And then the following day, you call up the phone number and she doesn't pick up. Or you text her and she doesn't respond. And now you're feeling kind of low. You were so excited about that phone number, but it didn't lead where you wanted it to lead. Let's say a few weeks later you start getting more phone numbers. And now you actually set up a date. Okay, you're super excited. You finally got a date. You go on the date. You think it goes well. You go home. A couple days later, you call her up again and she says, John, you were kind of nice, but I'm actually seeing somebody else right now. Sorry. Click. You got super excited because you thought the day went well, but then it didn't lead to anything afterwards, and you get low again. Okay, let's say you're getting phone numbers, you're getting dates, and now you take a girl back to your place. You're getting excited again. But last minute she says, I think it's too soon. And then you never see her ever again. So what I'm trying to say is it's important to celebrate your successes and kind of pat yourself on the back at times, but don't get overly excited about specific outcomes, even if they're highs. Because if you do get too excited and you make too much of them, eventually they're going to disappear and you're going to fall back down to a low. Basically what I'm saying is don't let the emotions get the best of you. Acknowledge your success, embrace your weakness and your failures, and just keep moving forward. Don't take either of it too serious. So, rule number 1 is especially important in 2 ways. The first is how to approach a situation, but more importantly, it's how to deal with a bad reaction. You guys have seen a lot of my successes on YouTube, so I want to show you a clip of my failure. I put that in quotation marks because, as you're going to see, it doesn't really look like a failure. It's just an interaction that wasn't successful. Because rule number 1 is so deeply ingrained in my psyche, a failure is not a failure, it's just not a success. So, watch this next clip and observe it through the context of rule number 1, not taking anything too seriously. Hey.
Hi.
Looking for a partner in crime.
For what?
To make this beach nude.
Do what?
To set the trend and make the beach nude
No.
for the remainder of the day.
Oh, there's lots and lots of people all up there who would probably be down.
Are you writing poetry on your phone?
No, I'm listening to music.
I don't hear any music.
Very quiet.
What kind of music?
Just mix of music, Pandora.
Pandora?
I mix a little bit of everything.
What are you listening to right now?
Rihanna.
You kind of look like Rihanna.
Nah, you're so silly.
No, I'm serious.
You're so silly.
I'm exploring the beach, and
Fun shit all up and around here.
I felt like talking to somebody, so here I am.
Aw, well, there's lots of delicious people.
Hey, you're pretty delicious yourself.
Thank you, but I'm a taken delicious girl. But there's lots of single delicious ones. I've been looking at them the whole time I've been here.
I mean, you could upgrade at some point, right?
I'm pretty set. I'm pretty great right now. Thank
Are
you.
you in love?
I moved here for him, so. That's pretty much a wrap.
Just for that, that's your excuse. But really, you came here for the weather. I know.
No, I came here for him and then the weather. I'm sure you came here for the girls, so.
Girls, plural, not one.
Perfect. You're in the perfect spot for that.
All right, dude. Well,
So good talking to you. Enjoy your time with all your delicious ladies.
I'm gonna try to find some flying honeys.
You will. I've seen a lot of them walking up towards the water, and I'm like,
But it's getting a bit late, so
effort it takes. You better meander then. Well, you got time and light.
do I have the charm? That is the question.
You do.
Do I?
I think you'll do just fine. Which is great. I have faith in you, though.
What should be my tactic?
Huh?
What should be my
I
tactic?
don't know. I've never tried to pick people up, so I...
Do I get a phone number and try to meet up later, or do I invite the girl immediately to some skinny dipping?
I highly doubt that's the first approach you want. You probably want to get the number before you ask.
Okay, well, if I need a wingman, I'm gonna come get you, all right?
All right. You have fun,
I
dog.
see ya. It never ceases to amaze me how a man can be afraid of a woman. It doesn't make any logical sense. We're clearly physically more dominant, yet guys just cripple at the sight of a beautiful woman. It's ridiculous. Doesn't make any sense. If you're afraid of rejection, maybe you're a bit too focused on the outcome of an interaction. If you're too serious and always have the objective of achieving some kind of accomplishment, you start to take the fun out of life. You essentially become a robot. When it comes to talking to girls, this is not a good thing to be. Remember that ABBA lyric, girls just want to have fun? Yeah, there's some truth to that. So, lighten up. Now, watch this next clip and ask yourself, would it be possible for this to happen if I took myself too seriously, or if I took the girl or the interaction too seriously, or if I took the environment too seriously? Yes, that was a hot, tall, blonde model bending over to kiss me within like 15 seconds of the approach. How does that happen? I don't know. What's the secret? I don't know. I just asked her if she could reach this high, and she found it funny. Throughout this program, you're going to start to understand rule number one more and more at a deeper level. Once you truly understand it, it's going to help you solve a lot of different issues. I know on the surface it seems overly simple and overly basic, but it can be applied on such deep levels that you can't even imagine yet. Rule number one is the first thing guys need to learn. And once you understand it and you stop taking everything around you as a given, you start to think for yourself. You start to focus more on who you are, what you value, and what you want. We'll talk more about that in rule number two. Okay, so if there was only rule number one, everything would turn into a huge joke and nothing would ever get accomplished. That's why there is rule number two. It's the yin to the yang. It's the complementary opposite to rule number one. Rule number two is simply to focus on what you want. Think of it this way. Rule number one helps you absorb challenges, and rule number two helps you push through challenges. As we go over rule number 2, I want you to pay attention to 3 things. The first is that you must focus on what you're after. The second is that it's more about you than it is about the girl or anybody else. And the third is that you need to learn to express rather than trying to impress. Okay, so why do you need to focus? Well, because it won't be easy. There is no easy path towards success. It may be simple, but it won't be easy. When you start to focus on what you truly want, you naturally begin to develop a lot of other positive qualities and personality traits. When you focus on something and you're after it, you become more proactive. You become more disciplined. You take responsibility for your actions. You become more persistent. You become more honest with yourself and with other people, more authentic. You become more creative. You become more of a problem solver, and you become more decisive, among many other positive quality traits that will serve you well in life. Has there ever been a success story out there without a strong desire to achieve it? Do you think somebody like Kobe Bryant just got lucky? Or was he focused his entire life on becoming one of the greatest basketball players ever? That's the mentality you need to kind of adopt if you want to become really good at something. Now, your focus doesn't have to be set in stone from the very beginning. Your focus can change, and well, it should change as you evolve and become a different person. At the very beginning, maybe your focus will be simply on learning how to approach people in social situations. Or maybe you have a deep insecurity about something, for example, your height, and your focus will be to try and minimize your insecurities around your height. Later, your focus could change to creating a fun vibe with strangers, or getting phone numbers, or setting up dates. Later, it could be on getting a girlfriend. Later, it could be dating multiple supermodels. The world is your oyster. The second part of rule number 2 is the focus should be on you, not anybody else. Not the girl, not your parents, not society, it's on you. You have to focus on what you want. A common issue is that guys try to figure out what women want. There is no answer to that. Nobody has known in the past, nobody will know in the future. It's the great mystery in life. You don't know, I don't know, nobody knows. So forget about it. If there is any guy out there that tells you he knows what women want, he's either lying to you or he's a marketer. He's either completely delusional or he's trying to sell you something. The reality is that different girls want different things. The same way we have preferences, they have preferences as well. Some girls want a funny guy. Some girls want a rich guy. Some girls want a tall, handsome guy. Some girls want a fat, ugly guy. Every girl is different, and trying to figure them out is basically a waste of time. There is no magic formula to getting a girl, so stop worrying about it so much. For now, forget about what women want. Let them figure it out on their own. Focus more on what you want. Put more value on yourself first, because that is who you're ultimately responsible for. The girl will figure her shit out on her own time. Don't worry so much about it. Have you ever wondered why girls are more sexually attracted to the bad boy type as opposed to the nice guy? One of the reasons is that nice guys seek to please others, whereas the bad boys seek to please themselves first. They got rule number 2 on lockdown. So what I'm really trying to get at is that you need to stop trying to impress people and stop trying to think for them. Instead, start expressing yourself freely. Now, not every girl will like you, but the ones that do will like something real about you. And that way, when you do spend time with her, you will actually be able to sustain the interaction for a longer period of time as opposed to always thinking about some next gimmick or next move or tactic to keep her interested. Think of yourself as a rock star. Do rock stars have fans? Yes. Do rock stars have haters? Absolutely. But overall, rock stars live, well, a rock star life because the people that do like them, love them, and the people that don't, they don't really matter. In other words, it's okay for not everybody to like you as long as you are being authentic. It's much more valuable to be authentic and proactive than it is to be impressive. When you start going after what you want, eventually you're going to achieve it. It's only a matter of time based on the amount of effort that you put into it. But you need to have the courage to be imperfect and to deal with challenges as they come along your way. And to achieve this, you must fully embrace vulnerability. Not in a needy way, but in a way that basically exposes the truth and your desire to achieve a certain goal. This means things like allowing rejection to happen and not beating yourself up over it, because if you're able to persist through it, ultimately, it's going to make you a much stronger version of yourself down the road. The guys that are the strongest and have the strongest character and the strongest willpower are the ones that went through the roughest times in the past, but they went through it. Like that classic Winston Churchill expression, when you're going through hell, just keep going. When it comes to meeting girls and trying to pick them up, there's a very fine line between persistence and being overly aggressive or creepy. Sometimes you need to cross that line a few times to know where it is. But a general rule of thumb is, if she's laughing and having fun while kind of rejecting you, it's okay. But if she gets serious about it, then you've gone too far. So, as you can see, the two rules are very broad, and they're designed to deal with a lot of different issues that you may be having. For example, if you have some kind of approach anxiety, if you're afraid of rejection, you need to focus on rule number 1, not taking it so serious. If you're not able to have a good vibe with a stranger, you're probably too serious. Rule number 1. If you don't know how to deal with resistance and how to turn challenges into fun, again, rule number 1 will help you understand your issue a little bit better. On the flip side, if your issue is not being able to move things forward, you're probably not focusing on what you want enough. Rule number 2. If you get constantly trapped in the friend zone, the girl is probably confused while you're talking to her and you're not expressing your intent very clearly. Rule number 2. If you're not happy with the relationship that you're in, well, you're not focused on yourself. You're focused on the relationship or the girl. Rule number 2. So, as you can tell, the two rules are very broad, but they can also be applied to very specific issues. And I want to drill them into you for the remainder of the program. Alright, we're about to get into some very practical tips, but before we do that, I want to ask you a question. Have you ever wondered why people like certain musical artists and not others? More importantly, have you ever wondered why people love certain artists that may not have much surface level meaning to their music? Alternatively, have you wondered why an artist that does have meaning in their lyrics or their message doesn't get as much recognition? This is because in music, as in any other language, there are two levels of communication. There is the surface level, which is the words or the lyrics that you use. And then there's the subcommunication, which is everything else. This includes how your voice sounds, your body language, your energy, basically your general vibe. As you'll learn throughout your experiences with women and life, your vibe is much more instrumental in determining your success than the words you choose. As the man approaching the girl, you have to take responsibility and set the tone. You can't expect her to do that for you. Before we get into the specifics of what to do and what not to do, take a look at this next clip so that you have an understanding of what a good vibe should generally look like. Okay, so here's a girl I met on the streets of Barcelona. I want you to notice how relaxed I am. This is because of rule number 1. I'm simply expressing myself and she's reacting with a lot of positive energy. If she had walked away, I wouldn't have felt at a loss. I'm not needy in any way. I'm simply there amusing myself and trying to make her laugh. It looks as if we've known each other for years, not just a few minutes. It also may look like she was just a very friendly girl, but trust me, she was giving me a very hard time. And you'll learn how to use a girl's shit test to your advantage a little later on. In my opinion, to create an obvious masculine-feminine polarity, an ideal vibe should consist of the guy typically having a straight face with a slight smirk or smile, and the girl should usually be smiling and or giggling. I know this is easier said than done, but keep it in the back of your head. Alright, I want to show some clips of bad body language. Bad body language is the easiest thing to fix as long as you're aware of your mistakes. Bad body language essentially communicates neediness and or nervousness. If you are needy and if you are nervous, pretend like you're not. If you're a beginner, 3 things that you should never do are leaning in while trying to talk to a girl, reaching for their attention, hey, come back here, or fidgeting and moving around as you're trying to talk to her. Here are some visual examples of that.
How you doing? Actually, I just thought you were cute and I wanted to come meet you.
Okay.
You should tell whoever you were just talking to that you just met the coolest guy in the world. Okay. Wait, stop. Come back.
So, what's the opposite of all that? Well, you have to be more grounded. You need to have more contained movement and be more relaxed. I know it's easier said than done, but make an effort to do it. Here's an example of better body language. Okay, in this first clip, I approach a girl as she's walking down the beach. Now her friends are about to walk by, and she's going to try to basically walk away from me. And notice how I react to that. My feet are planted. I don't shift my body necessarily. I just keep talking and I hold her hand and I even walk backwards a little bit to try and continue the conversation. In the second clip, I'm approaching 2 girls on the beach. At first, I'm standing up and I talk for a few minutes. The next best thing is to crouch down without leaning in and getting into their space too much. Again, I spend a few minutes in that position. And once I'm crouching down, while I'm talking, I casually sit back and get a little bit more comfortable. Of course, this makes it a lot easier to get the phone number, a lot more natural and less weird. After that, I continue the conversation, and now we're like best buddies chatting on the beach. Later, I actually go on to talk to the other girl, and again, I crouch down after standing up. Now notice that I am very grounded, very well positioned, and now she's giving me her phone number, and actually she's leaning in to give it to me without me making any movement. Over time, your body language will improve if you toughen up in 2 ways. The first is mentally, psychologically, and the second is physically. If you want overall better body language, go work out. It's the easiest thing to do. But secondly, toughen up mentally. This means change your attitude, change your psyche, read more books that will cultivate a stronger character. The more shit you have to deal with in life, the stronger you're going to become mentally. And that will naturally translate into a much more relaxed body language. If you guys ever wonder why I look so relaxed when talking to girls, it's because I had to deal with a lot of harsh rejections in the past, and they toughened me up mentally. But for some quick improvements, I'll recommend 3 things. The first is to lift your chest just 1 inch. If you stand up just 1 inch taller, you become a different person. You look and you feel 10 times more confident. So if you're feeling depressed or down or anything, just lift up your chest 1 inch and walk around like that for the remainder of the day. Trust me, you'll feel a lot better about yourself within minutes. And secondly, when you're talking to people, hold a straight line from the top of your head to your heels. Don't lean in. If they can't hear you, speak louder. If you don't know how to speak louder, we're going to cover some basics in the vocal section. And third, if you're really nervous about approaching a girl or talking to somebody, do some ridiculous body movements before you go talk to them. Shake it off, or maybe jump around or do some jumping jacks, and just confuse yourself a little bit before you enter the conversation. When you get nervous and you start stressing out, it builds a lot of tension in your muscles, especially in your shoulders and your neck. And so the physical motion of shaking it off actually has some kind of impact on your psychology as well. As you're going to learn over time, your voice, your facial expressions, your body language, and your psychology is all interconnected. They're all pieces of a puzzle that you have to solve. On to the voice. Have you ever heard yourself speak? When a lot of people listen to their own voice, they cringe. Maybe it's because their intuition says, something doesn't sound right. You have to realize that the voice is the most important tool you have for communication, and also the most effective tool to communicate masculine energy. In breaking down the components of the voice, I'm going to look at pitch, tonality, volume, and rhythm. Pitch basically means how deep your voice is. This is a really high-pitched voice. This is a very low-pitched voice. Obviously, the deeper your voice is, the more masculine it sounds. But unfortunately, not all of us can sound like Barry White. When it comes to pitch, the most important thing is that it falls within a natural range. If you're a really big guy and you have a very soft voice, like up here, it's gonna sound very strange. That's not natural. But if you're like a small dude and you have this like super deep voice, it'll also sound weird. So don't worry about your pitch too much as long as it's not an outlier, as long as it doesn't make you look or sound weird. Having said that, there are ways to deepen your voice and make it sound a bit more full. To have that full, deep, round voice, you need to be able to speak from your diaphragm, which is in your belly area. Not your voice up here. Right now I'm talking with my head voice. All the sound is coming from my head. You want to speak from the bottom of your belly. That way there's a lot more space for the sound to resonate, so when it does come out, it sounds fuller and deeper. If you don't know how to access this part of your body, pretend you are an opera singer. I'm not much of an opera singer, but the point is, when you sing like that, you access your diaphragm and the deep voice starts to come out. Tonality is how the sound of your voice bends as you speak. There are three forms of tonality. There's up talk, there's neutral, and there's down talk. Right now I'm speaking to you neutrally. The sound of my voice carries straight on through. A basic example of up talk would be, hey, how are you? And a basic example of down talk would be, hey, how are you? There are two types of up talk. The first is when the general level of your voice is constantly in up talk. So maybe when guys are very soft-spoken, they'll be up talking very consistently. The other type is when the up talk happens at the very end of a sentence, just the intonation part. So it's neutral, 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 and then hop, up talk. Up talk arises from two types of energy. The first is feminine energy. So if your general level is constantly in up talk, that means you're very, very feminine. Think of a very feminine girl or a gay guy seeing their best friend after like a year apart. Hey, how are you? Oh my God, so nice to see you. I haven't seen you in so long. I can't wait to catch up. Yeah, oh hey. That's how they talk. That's very feminine energy. The other energy is very needy energy. For example, hey, why don't you want to go out with me? Come on. What do you mean? Let's go. Come on. It's almost like a whiny voice. This type of up talk is just generally bad and has to be eradicated. Here are two examples from my past students that have had up talk. The first student had what I call the Mike Tyson voice, and his general level of communication was kind of always an up talk. He was very soft-spoken and kind of feminine, even though physically he was a big, strong dude. And the other student had a pretty normal, neutral voice, but then he would intonate with up talk at the very end in a very needy way.
Hi. I like your outfit, by the way. Like, it matches that, your bag and your shoes.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I didn't actually do that.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm just trying to flirt with your friend for a couple minutes.
Oh. Complimenting my wardrobe.
You kind of calorie restricted today? Are you calorie restricted today?
No, I don't know what that means.
You don't know what that means?
So uptalk is something you need to eliminate. There's no room for it. Eradicate it as soon as possible. If you have a very soft-spoken voice up here, try to bring it down a few notches and speak more naturally. And if you intonate with the neediness, that has to go as well. So if uptalk is feminine and or needy, downtalk is very commanding and masculine. The intonation is downwards. You're almost angry at people. You're commanding them. Pretend you're a boss with an underperforming employee and you're yelling at them. Or you're grounding your daughter after she broke the TV set. Go to your room, young lady, you're grounded. Notice how my face has also been changing according to the uptalk and the downtalk. When I was uptalking, my eyebrows were lifting and I was more open, because feminine energy is generally more open. And when I was downtalking, I was furrowing my brows and I was looking more mad. Anyways, here's a few examples of me downtalking. I don't care if you only date tall and buff guys. I'm here to break your archaic dating patterns. Yeah, you understand? Excuse me. I don't care if there's 7 billion people in this world. I want you. End of story. Beginning of romance.
Yeah?
Yeah. So.
Hi.
The third component of your voice is the volume with which you speak. If the girl can't hear you, nothing else matters. Your general volume has to be good. If you're chronically quiet, you have to work on this. If you're talking to somebody that, let's say, they're a foot away from you, instead of trying to talk to that person that's a foot away from you, talk to them as if they were 2 feet behind where they actually are. So you're not really talking to them, you're talking through them. Of course, there's a fine line between being loud and clear and obnoxious, and you'll just have to figure out where that line is on your own time. If you start talking louder, you'll become more influential upon people in social situations. They'll start reacting to you more. Girls will assume that you're sure of yourself even if you have no idea what the hell you're talking about. On a side note, if you ever get into a confrontation with another guy, the best thing to do is to start talking really loudly. He'll either get scared or he's just going to get really confused and walk away. Here's an example of me using the volume of my voice and some down talk to kind of take control of a situation.
Dale.
¿Qué pasa?
¿Qué pasa?
¿Qué pasa, amiga?
¿Cómo estás? ¿Bien?
Yo estudio español.
Ah, qué bien.
Sí.
Nice.
You're gonna be my girlfriend.
Yes.
Mi novia? Is that how you say
Yes.
it? Mi novia?
Yes.
I like tall girls. Oh, hey, get your hands off my girlfriend. What's the matter with you? Don't touch. What's the matter? Hey, what you want? Hey, ¿qué pasa? Hey? Once the general level of your voice is at a good spot, you can use extra volume for emphasis throughout your speech. Here is an example. Are you partying tonight?
No. Just some few drinks and that's it.
We're gonna throw a huge party this week. And you are invited.
Okay, thank you.
The trick with volume, as with anything else, is not to overuse it. If you're too loud, you're gonna become obnoxious and people will just think you're a psychopath. But if you're very quiet and people are constantly asking you to repeat yourself, you're not loud enough. Let it out, baby. Let it out. Finally, let's quickly go over the rhythm or the pace of your speech. You don't want to be talking too fast, but you also don't want to talk too slow because the girls might think you're mentally challenged. I think rhythm is a pretty self-explanatory concept. Just don't talk too fast. And once you normalize your pace of speech, focus more on the pausing while you speak. Pausing can be very, very effective if used correctly. Maybe you're telling a story and you pause before delivering the punchline. Or maybe after you deliver a compliment, you pause and let it sink in with the girl. Pausing is something you kind of have to learn through a lot of experience and watching good speakers. An excellent speaker, whether you like him or not, is Barack Obama. So if you're confused about what good rhythm and good pacing is, just go out and watch some Barack Obama speeches. Finally, once you learn all the fundamentals of the voice, you can use it in many ways to accentuate your conversations. Are you 5'10" in heels?
No, I'm 5'10", I'm 5'9". I'm a three. I wear 4 inches.
5'9". Okay, listen, I can make an exception of 5'9".
You can make an exception.
It's Sunday fun day today, right?
Today's Saturday.
It's Saturday, not Sunday?
Well, we can make it Sunday fun day.
Okay, let's make it
Sunday fun day. And now the question that every guy asks. What do I say when I approach a girl? What do I talk about? Once you understand the two rules and you understand how to look and how to sound, you'll realize that you can get away with just about anything. But in this section, I'm still gonna break it all down for you. Believe it or not, I actually grew up an extreme introvert. And to an extent, I still am. Talking didn't come naturally to me, it's something that I had to learn. My close family members used to joke around that they would need to use chains to pull out the words from my mouth. Whenever they tried to strike up a conversation with me, I would always give one-word responses. How was school today? Good. How are you? Tired. You want to go out later? No. There was never any elaboration, not much humor, just not much interaction as a whole. Now that they see me on YouTube cracking jokes with strangers, they simply can't believe it. If you really hate talking, you have to ask yourself, what do you want more? To continue not talking or to get better with girls? Talking is necessary. Think of it as a skill set that you have to learn. Now, talking is kind of a vague term, but what I really mean by it is uninhibited expression, free-flowing conversation. What does that look like? Think of how you speak to your best friend. You're relaxed, you don't get stuck in your head, and you never run out of things to say. This is kind of how you should be talking to girls. When girls give guys the advice to just be themselves, this is what they mean. They're telling you, don't put on that pickup persona and try to impress me. Just talk to me naturally the way you talk to people in your social circle. I know this is not easy to do, and this is why rule number 1 is so important. You might say, okay, Cupid, but I don't actually know her. Well, when you don't take things too seriously, you just kind of trick your brain and pretend like you know her. And the secret is, once you set that frame from the beginning, everything else falls under it. Note, I'm not saying to actually make the girl your best friend. There's a common misconception with this. I'm just saying, when you speak to her, pretend like you already know her. It makes the conversation a lot more natural and free-flowing. There's actually very little difference between the way I speak to guys and the way I speak to girls. The only difference really is the sexual escalation, but that doesn't come until later on anyways. With my best buddy, I might crack jokes, or I'll tease him on something, I'll tell him random stories, we'll go on some kind of adventure, or we'll discuss daily issues. So, with a girl, how is it really any different? So, I want to show you guys 3 very common mistakes a lot of guys make. The first is to ask too many questions. I call this the interrogation. The second is being too gamey or trying to impress the girl too much right off the bat. And the third is escalating way too fast. Here are some examples.
What's on the agenda for today? Did you go to school?
I did.
For like social service? Oh, French. What's the program called? Is it not even necessary? Tell me something interesting. What's your favorite Ellie Goulding song? Did you hear the her cover of The Weeknd? Is your bracelet fake? Did your family live around here? Did you go? Which school did you go to? Are your parents from like Quebec or French Canadian or anything like that? Did you do like French immersion?
Yo, 3 words for you. Sexy as fuck.
You stupid.
Oh yeah, come over, meet me. Who are you?
Lisa.
I like chocolate women, so I have to meet you. Lisa?
Asian persuasion.
Asian persuasion, baby.
What's up with you?
What's up with me? What's up with me?
Where you
What's up you mean? What's up with me and you?
What's up with you?
We got a love song, me and you.
Y'all about to go on
You know our love song?
Pakistan?
You know our love song?
What is it?
Yeah,
Goes like this. Goes like this. Black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow. I'm stupid.
Oh, it's funny. So you see, when you do too much of it,
Yeah.
it becomes like, he's like, what's going on? I gotta get out of here.
Too much, yeah.
Too much.
Hey. Thought you were cute. Thought you were cute.
Oh, thanks.
What's up? Do you live here?
No, I'm visiting.
Do you dance?
Huh?
You dance?
Yes.
Woo! Nice.
I'm gonna
Now you've already won the level 1 of the boyfriend test.
Oh, okay.
Awesome. Now what?
I'm engaged, so.
Awesome. Let's like forget about the other stuff and have a coffee. Now
it's okay.
I'll learn about your ins and outs and
it's okay.
intricate, secret, dark room.
I'm gonna go shopping.
Wait, I'm serious though. Well, okay.
The core issue in all three mistakes is that you're striving too much for an outcome. In the first case, you're trying way too hard to get to know the girl, hence asking so many questions. In the second case, you're trying too hard to impress her. You're putting on like a pickup persona to try and differentiate yourself from everybody else. Being different is generally good, but you're trying too hard to do it. And so the girl might think, okay, this guy is just a goofball and he does this to every girl that he sees. In the third case, you're just trying way too hard to take it to the next stage. Meet the girl first. Now, I've made all these mistakes in the past as well. And over the years, I've had 3 major realizations that have helped me correct these issues. The first realization is that when I approach a girl, I can't expect her to contribute anything to the interaction within the first 5 to 10 minutes. I have to take responsibility and talk for at least 80 to 90% of the time and say the first 10 minutes. I have to be responsible for the vibe and the content. Think about it. If you approach a girl and you're like, hey, you're cute, what do you expect her to do? Just be like, oh, thank you so much. Oh, my name is Jen. Oh, I go to school here. Oh, do you want to get coffee together because you think I'm cute? If it were that easy, every guy would just approach and say, hey, you're cute, let's go for coffee. So essentially, when you approach, you have to take responsibility and create the vibe on your own terms. The second realization is not to try to do too much fancy stuff, not to be too gamey, and not try to impress her right off the bat. Why? Because it's not sustainable. How many tricks do you have up your sleeve? Can you keep it going for 10 hours in a row? If you try to do too much, especially at the beginning, the girl won't think you're normal. She might think you're a drunkard or you're on drugs. And I've had a lot of times when girls have asked me, what am I on? And this was when I was going out 100% sober. If you try to do too much and you try to overcompensate for some insecurities, it's not sustainable and the girls just don't think you're a real person. At the end of the day, you want to be able to continue the interaction for a long time and realize that you're going to have a lot of different opportunities to put some flourish in the conversation. The third realization is that guys and girls get aroused differently. Guys are like a light switch. See a hot chick? I'm ready to go. Girls are more like a volume knob. It takes them a lot longer for them to become comfortable, become more relaxed, get turned on, get aroused. So realize when you're approaching a girl or talking to a girl, things aren't gonna start happening like this. It's very rare that that happens that quickly. So pace yourself and use time as your ally. Now when it comes to actually talking to girls and vibing with them, there's a few more things you have to understand. One night I was on a patio and I noticed 2 girls sitting kind of in the corner and just vibing out, talking. They were catching up, as they would say. And I noticed they were very into their conversation and it went on for like an hour or so. While I was walking around, I kept glancing over at them and I became very curious to know what they were talking about and how they just continued to talk for so long without seemingly getting bored. So I went over and I asked them. The response was, oh, we're just talking. I said, well, what exactly are you talking about? They're like, just regular stuff. So I asked them, can you tell me what you've been talking about for the past, half hour? So they kind of looked at each other and then they looked back at me and they said, we don't know. The point is they were just talking for the sake of expression. They weren't exchanging any important information. They're talking about, you know, how the hair was stuck in a knot, or something a guy said to them at the coffee shop, or how their boss reacted to a certain event at work. Basically just unimportant things. But what they were really invested in was the emotional exchange, not so much the informational exchange. In vibing, they were just venting out everything that was kind of on their mind, even though it was irrelevant. That same night, I had a student do a very ballsy approach on a group of 3 girls that were also sitting in the corner. He basically picked up his chair, he walked right on over, and he said, "I'm here to flirt with you guys." They responded very positively initially. They started laughing out loud. They're like, "Holy shit, this guy's balls." About 10 minutes later, I joined the group and I asked the girl, "How's my buddy doing?" And her response was, "Oh, he had a very ballsy approach." I said, "Oh, really? What did he say?" She looked at me and then she thought about it for a second and she looked back at me and she said, "I don't remember, but it was ballsy." Even when a guy makes a ballsy approach and only 10 minutes have elapsed, the surface level content is just forgotten, but the emotion of the moment is remembered. So what does this all mean? The surface level content, the words you say, the stories you tell, the things you talk about, they're just a form of wasting time. The girls aren't so much interested in the information you have to bring to the table, they're more interested in the vibe that you bring. Think of it this way, if like a hot girl approaches you and she starts talking to you about stamps and butterflies, do you give a shit? No, you just want to talk to the hot girl. You want her to be around you. Well, girls aren't that different. When a fun, cool guy enters the room and he has this incredible vibe and energy to him, he can get away with talking about almost anything as long as he's there to create that energy for the girl. Alright, having said all that, let's get into the actual components of what to talk about. I break it all down into what I call extensions, statements, stories, observations, and general self-amusement. An extension is taking any mundane question and answer and adding something to it to make it more interesting or more funny. For example, a mundane Q&A. How old are you? Girl responds, 35. I'm like, okay. Boring. Any guy can do that. If I were to add an extension, I would say, oh, 35. That's my favorite age. Does it make any sense? Not really, but if you ask, oh, why, then you can go into a story of why you like older women. It turns the quick, boring Q&A into something that's a lot more fun. Another example, I like to ask girls how tall they are. Maybe she'll say 5'9" or 5'7", and I'll respond, oh, that's my favorite height. So I'll take any basic question and answer and I'll try to add something onto it to make it a little bit more interesting or a little bit more funny. Another common question is, where are you from? Here's an example of how I deal with it.
Where are you from?
I'm from the Great White North.
North?
The Great White North.
Great White North?
Yeah. I swam across the Atlantic to get here.
Wow.
It was a long swim. It was kind of cold too.
Yeah.
But I made it alive. In Canada. But I was born in Bulgaria.
Bulgaria?
Yeah. So I've got the Bulgarian blood. It's a little bit different from the Canadian blood.
Yeah, I think so.
You know what happens when a Bulgarian bull meets a Brazilian girl?
I'm scared to ask
Fiesta! 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 What is a statement? A statement is simply a sentence without a question mark at the end. A statement means expressing yourself without seeking any kind of response. When you're talking to your close friends, you probably make a lot of statements. You tell them what you did today. You tell them where you're going. You tell them how you feel. Incorporate this in your speech with women. Don't just ask them question after question after question. Make some statements. Here is an example of me making a lot of statements within a short period of time. Where are you guys from?
Orlando.
Orlando in his house.
On spring break.
Is that where Disney World is?
Yeah.
I bought a Mickey Mouse hat and I wear it almost every day.
Interesting.
Because like I'm a boss.
Yeah, I could.
And I look
You can
cool.
pull it off. You can do it.
That's also why I bought a cigar, to look cooler.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you could just exude cool on your own.
Well, yeah.
Cigars is plus.
Plus I have chest hair. That's a bonus,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You like chest hair?
I do not.
You haven't been with a real man yet, then.
You're, no, I have not. I'll give you that.
Okay, here's your opportunity.
Yeah. That's funny. That's it. Unless you have,
Are you gonna take this opportunity?
Are
you gonna slip on by?
I'm gonna slip on by.
Oh
I'm
man,
gonna slip on by. Yeah.
you're missing out, honey.
I appreciate.
These 5 feet of love.
I appreciate your
Look at these biceps. You wanna touch them?
I'm good. But thank
Touch
you.
them.
They might.
I dare you.
Love the touch. I'm
If you touch them, you might get seduced.
Whoa! I wouldn't.
If you don't know how to tell a good story, go out and learn immediately. Telling a good story is the most effective way of communicating what we have to say and the meaning behind it. Stories can not only be entertaining, but they can also be captivating and allow for a real discussion to unfold. What kind of stories can you tell a girl that you just met? What you did today, where you're going, what you're about to do, an event that's happening that day or later that week. It could also be an interesting story that actually happened to you recently or that is related to the conversation that you're having. Or you can just make up some ridiculous story for the sole purpose of self-amusement. Here are 2 examples of me telling a story about something that actually happened to me. Not that exciting. The second is me making up a fake story, or maybe you could call it an adventure projection. Basically just me talking shit, but it's funny. Do I look Bulgarian? Not at all, right?
Are you Bulgarian for real?
Yeah, 100%. Okay, I'm like 90% Bulgarian, 10% awesome.
10% what?
Awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah, awesome. Amazing. Phenomenal.
Whatever.
Splendid.
Okay.
When I went to the vacation spots in Bulgaria with my family like a few years ago, we would walk into a store and they would speak Bulgarian to my parents. They speak English to me because they thought I was like a tourist.
You don't speak Bulgarian?
I do speak Bulgarian.
Oh, good.
But they saw me and like, this guy must be a tourist because I don't look Bulgarian at all.
Right.
So they would speak to me in English, but to my parents in Bulgarian, even though we came in together.
Right.
I was like, all right. You guys know how to swim?
Do we know how to swim?
Yeah.
Yeah, what?
I'm having a competition, swim to Cuba and back. Do you want to partake?
I don't know about that. Where the hell Cuba's all the way back there?
It's all the way over there, yeah.
You're gonna actually swim there? GPS.
Okay, we could go to the ship over there and like we'll get on. You're gonna distract them by flashing the sailors. I'll knock them off, and then we're gonna hijack the ship, and then we'll go to the Bahamas.
That's a foolproof plan.
Yeah. Most people walk through life in a complete daze. They don't live in the present moment. As you walk through your daily life, start to observe the things around you. There's so much information out there that you are not using to your advantage. Look around you. Think about what you are witnessing. Form an opinion on things. If you tend to run out of things to say, you're probably not curious enough about the world around you. There are literally hundreds of topics you can have a conversation over if you just open your eyes. When you do make observations, don't just make very obvious, stupid observations like, hey, your shirt is red. Now, if it's for the purpose of self-amusement, it could work. But if you're a beginner, add an extension onto that, or a story. The purpose of an observation is to move the conversation onto another topic. So don't just stop at the observation. Continue along with it. I want to show you a couple examples. In the first, I observed that the girl is on her phone. So I started making assumptions about what she's doing on that phone. And then based off those assumptions, I carry on the conversation. In the second example, I guessed that the girl was in second year based on my observations. Of course, she became curious to know what my observations were, so I explained to her. So what are you up to today? Are you Instagramming right now?
I don't know.
Tweeting?
No.
You look like you could have a lot of Instagram followers.
Me?
Yeah.
No, I'm
You look very fashionable, and if you post pictures, girls start following you. They're like, oh, I want to look like. I want to have her style. No? So what are you up to? What year are you? Second?
I'm in second year,
Second. There's like this subtle difference between first and second years. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I could see that.
I can usually pick it off.
What's the difference? What do you think the difference is?
I think the first year is a lot more introverted, and they're like really afraid when to talk, to socialize to strangers.
Yeah, I see that.
Second years are like more comfortable, and like, oh, somebody's gonna talk to me.
More
Okay.
chill. Yeah.
So.
Well.
I like your jean jacket.
Thanks. It was my mom's.
It's kind of big for you, but that makes it look cooler.
Big. It's okay.
If you don't have a sense of humor, go out and get one. It is the second most valuable thing a man can possess in life. The first is his pair of balls. Once upon a time, a pretty young lady named Marilyn Monroe said, "If you can make a girl laugh, you can make her do anything." Get it? Got it? Good. If you're not rich or famous or very good looking, being funny is the next best thing. You can get away with a lot of shit. Trust me. Now, a lot of the clips that you have seen have already incorporated a lot of sense of humor and self-amusement, but I'll show you some more. It's hard to logically explain how to be funny because being funny is something that's unexpected and thus not logical. But it can originate from many things. Misinterpretation, a funny voice, a completely random statement, or a witty reference. If you want to become funnier, watch a lot of comedy. Watch your favorite comedians doing stand-up or interviews or whatever it may be. Study them and look how they structure their jokes. Look at how they express themselves, how they move their face or their body or their voice. Different comedians have different styles, and obviously there's different styles of sense of humor, so you just need to find one that you like and that you wouldn't mind imitating. And obviously, to be funny, you can't really take things too serious, right? Rule number 1.
Do it one more time.
Does not have butter.
Is this smooth?
I'm not gonna
What the fuck you mean this is smooth? I'm
Is
a
this
girl.
smooth, right? Here, let me rough you up.
I'm a girl.
Come here. I'm roughing you up right now. Or I could buy a yellow shirt.
No, I don't know.
I've been trying to get a yellow t-shirt, for the longest time. And I just can't find anywhere.
The problem is that you are not drunk because you are drinking red. No, I'm Brazilian. I live here.
Brazil.
I live
Have we got a
here.
samba?
No, I'm not samba.
Look how good my hair looks. How does my hair look? Good?
Yes, I like
Am I sexy or am I super sexy?
super sexy.
Super sexy, yes. Muy guapo. Muy guapa. Do you think I look like James Dean right now?
You do a little bit. Good.
But with the pole?
Yeah, good.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna be a stripper in my next lifetime.
I think you do. I think you want to.
I think I could be a good stripper.
You could be a good stripper.
Yeah.
How do you know? Ever stripped before?
I got the moves.
You get the. We need to put you some music and see that.
Listen, if you play some music on your phone and you put a dollar bill in my pants,
it.
I'll start right here, right now. How old are you?
30.
You're 30? Oh, I thought you were underage.
I know. No, I'm 30. How are you?
I'm 16.
16? Wow.
Yeah. Oh, you like the younger guys, don't you?
No, I'm not either.
Not yet.
No.
To close off the section, I want to leave you guys with an analogy. I call this the musical artist analogy. And I want you to view pickup or meeting women kind of like a performance. The word performance should be defined not as putting on a persona necessarily or trying to impress, but rather as a form of expression. When we first hear or see a new artist, we want to hear more than just a few minutes of their music. We want to know what they're all about before we become a fan of them. In the same way, a girl wants to see a wide range of your personality before she becomes a fan of you. When you put your music or your personality on display for the world to judge, some will like it, some won't. Justin Bieber, anyone? Think of a song as a conversation. Some are more memorable than others. But to get to know an artist, one song is usually not enough. Maybe you'll need to listen to a whole album. And that album will contain songs that are more upbeat, interesting, and fun, and others that are more mellow, maybe more boring, but also more rapport building. An album contains a mix of emotions and vibes and takes you on a journey to get to know an artist. An interaction with a woman should be not that different. Maybe when you first approach her, you want to put out your catchiest song to try and get her attention so she can want to see more. And then you take her for coffee, and that's a new song. Maybe it won't be as fun, exciting, as impressive, but it'll be more mellow and you can get to know her and build rapport. Then another song can be you going on a walk to the park. Again, maybe more mellow, rapport building. A few days later, you invite her for a dinner and a movie. A few more songs are thrown in there. And so, over this time, she gets to know you in the same way maybe she'll get to know an artist. Maybe once she hears your first album, she'll come over to your show. And after a few more albums that you put out, she becomes a diehard fan of you, aka your girlfriend. When I was younger, I used to get very frustrated when things did not work out my way, especially with girls. I used to think, why can't it be as easy for me as it is for some other guys? I felt like I had way too many challenges and things just weren't fair. Then, as I started reading more about successful people, I started to learn that challenges are a natural part of the road to success. The most successful people have had to deal with the greatest number of challenges. And so I stopped viewing challenges as a problem, but more as an opportunity to get better. There is an expression in the investment world. A crisis is a horrible thing to waste. In fact, it's actually a great opportunity to invest in the future. If you're facing challenges with girls, view it as an opportunity to get better. The girls are essentially telling you what you need to work on. And because you're not getting the results that you want, you're going to have enough emotional leverage to persist on your journey and eventually break through your plateaus. Now, I know many of you wish you were taller or better looking or you had more money or whatever it may be. But you have to realize that the less challenges you have to deal with in life, the less forced you are to actually improve. Don't be surprised if you see a lot of tall, good-looking guys dating average or below average looking girls. It's not that they don't have the potential to become great with girls. In fact, they have the most potential out of anyone. But what they don't have is the emotional leverage to force them to get better. They may want to get better, but they usually don't need to get better. A lot of the guys that are now very good with girls used to be absolute shit with them, and they were forced to get better. What I'm really saying is don't get too frustrated if you're faced with a lot of challenges. Success and challenge go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. Think of some of the more extremes in this world. Think of the billionaires. Most of them came from very humble beginnings. They had to build up their worth from the ground up. Think of all the famous artists in the world. People like Justin Bieber. He came from a small town in Ontario, Canada, of all places. Or how about all the rappers in the world like Jay-Z, who grew up in the ghetto? They made something great out of absolutely nothing. Anyways, what I'm trying to get at is the guys that become the best with girls usually did not start out that way. They've had to go through a journey with a lot of challenges, and they've had the emotional leverage to persist on through. So instead of viewing rejection or challenge as a bad thing, how can we view it as a good thing? Well, I think there's two main reasons. The first is that it will force you to get better, and the second is it'll weed out the weak. When it comes to meeting girls, a lot of guys have a very rosy, Disney-inspired view of how it all goes down. They approach a girl, tell her she's cute, she blushes, they lock hands, and they walk off into the sunset. In the real world, things work a little differently. Girls, especially hot girls, have guys approaching them all the time. How do they know which one to choose? You have to realize that it's very natural for a woman to challenge you or test you. If she didn't, she would be having sex 24/7 with a million different guys. She needs some kind of screening process. If you're lazy, This is very bad news for you because you won't get lucky very often. But if you're driven towards self-development and self-improvement, this is great news for you because it will weed out all those lazy bums and will create a lot more opportunities for you. So in this section, I'm going to teach you how to deal with some challenges. To do this effectively, understanding the two rules is very important. Not taking things too seriously, shrugging off the shit test, and continuing what you're after. In this case, the girl. But first, I want to show you how not to successfully deal with challenges. In this particular example, one of my students tried to get a phone number and he ended up making 3 main mistakes. Watch the clip first.
Well, here's what I propose. Let me get your numbers.
Okay. Well, you're not living here. I'm just gonna be honest. You're just visiting, right?
What do you think, Mississauga is that far?
Yes. Oh.
It's not that far.
So far.
Are you kidding me?
That's more than
40
like 2
40
hours.
minutes. Do you live here? 40 minutes on the GO train.
That's a GO train. See, if I can't use my Metro Pass, like, and then it's done.
Oh, I don't give a shit. I'll use whatever. Okay, you know what? Fine. I see this. I see what's going on. I saw that. Okay. Have a good day.
All right. You
Bye.
too. Bye.
That was a lot better. Just at the very end with the number.
Yeah, like
don't be don't be super reactive. Like, what did you think? I'm just gonna text you. What do you expect from me?
Yeah.
Right?
True.
If she's like, oh, you're so far, like, I'm just gonna maybe text you. I don't know if I'm gonna text you yet. Like, give me your number.
That would be sick to say.
You know,
Yeah. I don't even know if I'm gonna text you yet, but I have the option.
So, what were the 3 mistakes? After the second girl started questioning whether or not to give him her phone number, he left a very long, awkward silence, allowing her time to think about why not to give him the phone number. If you give the girl enough time to think about why not to give you her phone number, she will come up with a reason. You need to apply rule number 2 and redirect her thoughts to what it is that you want. The second mistake was after she said that there was no point in exchanging phone numbers because he lived too far and it would be too much of a mission to meet up. Instead of reacting negatively to this, he could have applied rule number 1 and started making jokes about it. For example, he could have said, who said I was going to come and meet you? I just want to text you. Or he could have said, that's fine, you can ride the train to where I'm at and I can reward you by taking you out on a romantic dinner to McDonald's. Or a third way, he could have just been like, you're so lazy. What's your phone number? And kind of ignored it and continued. The third mistake, after having missed all those comeback opportunities, was to eject out of the interaction. Now, maybe he didn't like the girls, but let's just assume that he did. He could have just changed the topic of the conversation, continued talking for another minute or 2, and then proposed to do something with them on the spot. If he had asked for the phone number again, it might have been a bit awkward, but maybe he could have asked for a Facebook, or he could have offered to take them for tea or for lunch or something. That way you have the opportunity to build a stronger connection and vibe with them, and it will make more sense to get the phone numbers later on. So, if you go out regularly and you talk to girls, you're going to notice that a lot of them give you very similar resistance lines. Maybe that they have a boyfriend, or they're too young for you, or they're too old for you, or they're not interested in you, or you're too short for them, or whatever it may be. Write down the most common challenges that girls give you and try to brainstorm at least 3 different ways to respond to it. Then, memorize them. From my experience, there are 3 general ways to deal with challenges. The first is to simply ignore them and continue talking. Have girls ever ignored you in the past? Well, now I give you permission to ignore them as well. Rule number 1, you don't take it seriously. Rule number 2, you continue talking about what you want to talk about. The second way is to use humor. You can make some kind of joke about it. You can either use misinterpretation or just exaggerate what's going on. This focuses primarily on rule number 1. The third way is to approach it logically, but casually. You're not really trying to convince her of anything. You're just kind of pointing out how ridiculous she is. Oftentimes, maybe I'll also use some kind of wisdom in the form of a famous quote to get her to think of things the way I think of them. The primary focus here is more on rule number 2. Now, ignoring challenges and addressing them logically can work sometimes, but definitely the most effective way to deal with shit tests is by using humor. Not only do you deal with the challenge, but you also instantly recreate a positive vibe in the interaction, and you showcase some personality. I've actually grown to love challenges from women because they're essentially giving me the opportunity to differentiate myself from any other guy out there without me trying to show off or bragging about anything. And because I am short, girls will almost always give me some kind of challenge that then I can use to my advantage. Now here's an example of a girl that was skeptical about giving me her phone number, questioning whether or not she would do it, and watch how I dealt with this situation. I initially ignored her challenge, then I made a smart-ass funny remark, then I preached some wisdom, then I explained things in a logical fashion, then I made an over-exaggeration, and finally I asked her a leading question. What's your number?
Excuse me?
What's your phone number?
Oh, wow. How old are you?
I'm 16.
No, seriously.
Yeah.
How old are you? 20 what? Too young for me. I'm too old.
I'm looking for a sugar mama.
Fuck you.
You're not too old for me. It's not the age, it's the mileage, Julia. Okay, no, this is no risk. I'll send you a message if you want to come out. Come out. If not, you don't. Right? I think you're enjoying yourself.
I'm thinking if I should give you my phone number now.
Why wouldn't you? I'll only call you 20 times a day.
Oh, heck no then.
But I'll leave you voicemails and I'll sing on the voicemail. So at least you'll laugh.
Fuck that.
Are you 702?
702, why do I give you my number? I shouldn't though. I think I shouldn't.
Okay, 702.
635.
Yeah. So, once you understand the 2 rules, not taking things too seriously and going after what you want, and you couple that with self-amusement, and now the realization that challenges can actually be opportunities, you're gonna start having a lot of fun when women give you shit tests. Write out the most common rejections that they give you and brainstorm some ways to respond to them. Here are some examples. Do you find me attractive?
Well, you are shorter, and that's not attractive for me.
Well, I'm big where it counts.
Yeah.
Dude, you're
I saw your
fucking
underwear.
short as hell. Look at you.
I'm big where it counts, baby. But she's taller than you, so I'm gonna go for her first, okay?
I don't.
You guys should come out tonight.
Maybe. Let's see. Me, I've been out so many times. I'm 30.
It's not just about you, okay? It's about your friend too. Everything about me.
Selfish.
So selfish of you. Taking selfies. Now like me.
I don't know.
Come on, sister.
You wanna go out tonight?
Okay, well listen, I'll grab your number and then I'll let you guys know what I'm doing.
Sure.
If you want, you can come.
Of course, I have a lot of friends from Russia. Why you?
I'm checking out your outfits. Why? Why not?
Why? It's
You were looking down there earlier. Now I'm looking at you.
No, I don't look.
Yeah. You're hiding behind your sunglasses.
No.
Yeah, you are. So, do you like it here? How old are you? Did I ask you that?
Yeah, I think I'm much older than you.
Well, the real youth is on the inside.
Yeah, that's true.
What's that giving?
I'm 32 now.
32? It's my favorite age. I just turned 28.
Happy birthday.
You gonna give me a hug or no?
Yeah, I'm gonna do like this too.
That's it? I put deodorant on today. You don't have to worry.
She wants a black penis, I'm sorry.
You're a night rider?
Yeah.
Oh, I can color it with some marker or something.
did that before. That was good. I give a point. Yeah, points.
Do you find me attractive?
Do I find you attractive? I don't know. I don't look at you like that because I have a boyfriend.
Okay, well, change the lens and start looking at me like that. What are you up to
Nothing really.
tonight?
Well, my boyfriend, he went to the car and he might leave me, so.
That's even better. You'll get lucky because you can spend the time with me instead.
Ah, thanks, but I really have to go.
I'm way better looking. Why are you laughing? It's the truth.
Nice to meet you.
We're going on a date right now.
No, I had a boyfriend. I cannot date anybody.
Are you? Did you meet him here?
Huh?
Did you meet him here in Miami?
No, before he lived in Orlando. Now he's in Puerto Rican because he's going to army.
Oh, so he's not here.
No,
Okay.
not in Miami, but he's in Puerto Rican. I'm going to Puerto Rican to see him.
When?
And he's coming to Miami.
When are you going?
We're dating. It's a really trip to go.
Yeah, long distance relationships don't work.
Work because I'm going to Puerto Rico with him.
When are you going?
I think
Don't
next
even know.
month.
Okay. So we have a week to for this for this friendship. No romance. Forget about that. I'm not that easy. You think I'm just some like piece of meat that goes around like going after big
So
booty
I can sell your shoes.
big booty Brazilians on the beach? Okay, here's what we'll do.
You're so stupid. Alright, well you have fun too.
Where are you guys? Hold on.
What?
Where are you guys from?
We're from Pennsylvania.
Here's what we'll do.
You're so stupid.
Here's what you have two options. One option is we go for a coffee right now.
No, I'm going home. I need to go home.
The other option is
No options.
we exchange contact information and we meet up for a coffee on say Tuesday.
Okay.
'Cause I'm busy this weekend.
No.
Like over, you see that Starbucks over there on Ocean?
Yes.
We can chill there and then we can go tanning.
No.
Because I'm here for another week by myself.
No.
I want to make friends.
No, I need no.
No, what?
I can't.
You can't make friends with people?
Yes,
You can pretend I'm gay.
You're totally crazy guy.
You just want to give me another hug, I know.
Okay, and bye. Say bye.
Okay, so Tuesday? What's your phone number?
Okay, 305.
Once you understand all that, you'll realize that the real challenge runs a lot deeper. It's more than just a pickup line or a comeback line. The real challenge is actually making the girl comfortable enough for her to want to see you again. At some point, you're going to realize that to improve your odds of seeing a girl again, you have to spend more time with her when you first meet her. I know a lot of guys, they go out and they try to get phone numbers as quickly as possible, and then the majority of them flake or don't respond at all. It's not uncommon for me to spend 30 to 60 minutes with a girl that I just met on the street or on the beach or wherever it may be, and continue the interaction to a point where we're comfortable enough to get on the phone and to go out together another day. This is why learning how to talk and express yourself and observe things that are around you to give you ideas of what to talk about becomes so important. This is also why I talk about sustainable game, because if your game only consists of flash game and gimmicks, you can only last a few minutes with that. And then maybe you get a quick phone number and then some funny texts, and then what do you do? So again, the goal is to be able to continue talking to a girl for a very long period of time. Now, quick number closes can work as well. Maybe a girl is in a rush or she's getting into a streetcar, and the only way for you to continue the interaction is to get her phone number and then text her or call her later. But a major mistake guys make is that they eject from the interaction way too early. And if you're just going running around collecting phone numbers, it will come across in the way you interact with women. And they're going to think to themselves on some level, whether it's conscious or subconscious, this guy doesn't actually want to meet me, he just wants my phone number. And so they won't be as responsive later on. Remember that girls take a lot more time to get interested and aroused, which means you need to spend a lot more time with them when you first meet them to improve the odds of you seeing them again. Alright, I hope you enjoyed that program. I tried to pack in as much real content within every minute of video as I possibly could. My goal was to create the most fundamental and practical structure to improve your game. The concepts carry over from the beginner all the way to the advanced level. The focus throughout was on the process, not so much the outcomes. This is because if you focus on the process, the results will come. And remember, don't let the highs get you. Rule number 1. For those of you that are just starting out, I want you to realize something. There are 2 broad phases towards success. The first is what I call normalization. Some of you may be quote-unquote deficient in something. Maybe you have a deep insecurity about your height, or you have extreme social anxiety, or you're constantly up-talking. So the first phase, you need to focus on normalizing your behaviors so that you kind of fit into society. If you're unable to have a normal conversation without interrogating the girl, no pickup line is going to fix your issues. So if you realize that you are a bit of an outlier, you need to focus on normalizing yourself. In my case, when I first started out, I was extremely insecure about my height. I'm 5'2". So my focus was exclusively on eradicating as much insecurity around that as possible. What did I do? I went out to bars and clubs and I approached the tallest girls I could find. And I tried to hit on them, and I tried to make them laugh, and I tried to get their phone numbers, and I tried to make out with them. Also, because I felt like I looked like a little kid, I went to the gym, and my goal was to get a V-shaped back. So I worked out 6-7 days a week until I looked a little bit more masculine. So when I first started going out in the first few months, my focus was on reducing my insecurities and to stop looking like a little kid. Once you're a little bit more normalized, you enter the second phase of the journey towards success. And this just basically means adding skill sets to take you above average, to get better, to become good, to become excellent, to become great. Like I already mentioned, the principles outlined in this program can be applied from the beginner all the way to the advanced level. The difference is, at the advanced level, it's more about calibration and creativity. For example, coming up with a very interesting situational opener, or customizing the content of the conversation to the type of girl that you're meeting, or being able to think on your feet and dealing with unexpected awkward challenges. If you want consistent results, plan ahead. Visualize how your interactions may unfold, whether it be during the day, at night, at school, on the street, wherever it is that you may be approaching girls. If you're having trouble talking, pre-plan a few things that you're going to say to the girl. Maybe have a few stories lined up about what you did today or what you did yesterday that will kind of get a conversation flowing. If you're always being challenged by girls, maybe you're too short for them, or they always seem to have boyfriends, or they're always in a rush somewhere, brainstorm a few ways to respond to that, ideally in a funny way. Finally, try to spend as much time as possible with the girl when you first meet her. At the end of the day, the goal should be to meet the girl, not just get a quick phone number. Because usually when you get those quick phone numbers, that just puts a lot more pressure on you later on, and it makes it a lot more difficult to take it to the next level. This is why I call it a 10 to 20 minute outline, not a 2-minute outline. Ideally, the phone number is not a means to getting to know a girl, it is just a bridge to see her again. And for her to be comfortable enough to see you again, that means she needs to kind of get to know you when she first meets you. If you can figure out how to engage girls for 20 minutes when you first meet them, you're going to have a lot of success down the road. Finally, I want to urge you to make a choice and invest in yourself. The benefits that will come to you over the long run, you can't even imagine. How do you invest in yourself? I think this product is a great start, especially in terms of social skills, because they are fully transferable. You can apply them to girls, to guys, to friends, to colleagues, to family members. Just be careful with the sexual innuendos. Beyond that, start reading more. Books, magazine articles, basically anything that provides quality information. and start thinking for yourself. Look into this world and identify people that you admire and that inspire you, and try to learn from them. Study the personality traits that you like and try to start imitating them and make them your own. If you meet someone that is impressive at something, it probably did not happen overnight. If it were that quick and easy, everyone would be able to do it. Instead, it probably took countless hours for that person to reach that level of performance. Think about how many hours Kobe Bryant has spent in the gym, or how many hours John Mayer has spent playing his guitar, or how many hours Kanye West has spent producing beats. The journey towards success is long but fulfilling, and it requires constant reinvestment in yourself. Finally, I want you to visualize what your future will look like if you don't start taking action now, and what your future could look like if you do start taking action now. Think of what your life will be like in 3 months if you don't take action now. Think of all the opportunities that pass you by on a daily basis. And think of how different your life could be if you started taking those opportunities. What about in 6 months' time? What will your life look like in 6 months if you don't start taking action now? To give you some perspective, 6 months is long enough for you to become fluent in a foreign language. Think of all the things you can achieve in just 6 months' time if you start taking action now. What about in 1 year's time? How will your life look like in 1 year if you don't take action? You know that in 1 year, you can approach 1,000 girls? That's just 3 girls a day. If you approach 3 girls a day for the next year, you will have 1,000 reference experiences under your belt. And out of those thousands, you could find a few girlfriends. What about in 2 years' time? What would your life look like in 2 years if you don't take action now? In 2 years, you could go from a fat, lazy, unemployed bum to being jacked with a hot girlfriend and a great job. In just 2 years. What about in 5 years' time? 5 years is a very long time. 5 years is long enough for you to become an expert in a lot of fields. Do you know that 5 years ago, I was the one obsessively watching self-help products because I felt hopeless? That was only 5 years ago. What about in 10 years' time? 10 years! 10 years is a very long time. Do you realize what kind of life transformation you can achieve in a 10-year time period? Have you ever heard of a company named Facebook? Facebook, at the time of this recording, is worth over $200 billion. Facebook is only 10 years old. In 10 years, Facebook has become one of the most valuable companies in the world, and it seems like almost everybody is using it on a daily basis. Think about the kind of transformation that you can achieve in 10 years' time. Do we need to look out 20 years from now? Do you really want to be one of those old creepy men hiring escorts? I think you get the point. What I'm trying to say is, the best time to start something new is always now. Thank you for watching. Now go out and apply yourself. Alright guys, I wanted to go over my transformation and some of the lessons that I learned along the way. I have some clips I'm going to show you in a bit from the past year of filming that I've done, and you'll see some of the progress I've made in the past year alone. But before I get into that, I want to give you a bit of a background of what I did before the past year. The first time I went out consistently was in the summer of 2010. This was right after I quit my first job and I had a lot of energy and I wanted to go meet some girls and improve myself. So that summer I started out as an approach machine at the bars and the clubs. I went out primarily at night. It was a lot easier to interact with girls, a lot more girls to talk to, and just more socially acceptable. I wasn't ready for the daytime approaches yet. Now, the mass approaching certainly helped me deal with my approach anxiety and my height insecurities, but eventually I realized that this was not going to get me sustainable results. Also, that first summer, I made an effort to practice a lot of specific things when I went out. For example, one night, my buddy and I would only practice approaching with, "Hi, my name is Boris. Hi, my name is Boris. Hi, my name is Boris." Or another night, we'd practice, group sets, just to get some reference experiences under our belt. We even created a lot of challenges, such as attempting to kiss at least one girl per night, which was very nerve-wracking at the beginning, but turned out to be a lot of fun at the end. The thing with my development was that it was very inconsistent. I would go out for a summer, and then I would stay in for 6 to 9 months, going back to work or studying or whatever it may be. So it was very inconsistent. I got frustrated a lot of times because I didn't get the kind of results that I wanted to, especially compared to some of my friends who got results a lot faster. I got kind of discouraged a lot of the time, and my friends were certainly a lot taller than me and arguably a bit better looking, and they never really had the same kind of initial issues that I had when I started going out. Most of their issues, at least from what I saw, was which girl to try and go on a date with, whereas my issues were more like, okay, I can't get an interaction for more than 30 seconds because the girl just tells me I'm too short for her and then she runs away. So that was very frustrating at the beginning because I didn't know how to deal with it and there was nobody to guide me as to what to do. So I kept watching, the self-help seminars and read a lot of books, but when it came to actually applying all these principles, I didn't know exactly what to do. I thought that I would just have to be a lot more impressive when I talked to girls. So my focus was a bit more on the flash game, the gimmicks. I had all these lines, and I was very high energy, and I was very loud and kind of obnoxious at times. It got some quick reactions from girls and other people, and they would notice me, but it would fizzle away very quickly because I would run out of material. And so I never had any real results until a few times I just started kind of giving up. And instead of trying to do all my shit when I went out, I just kind of let things happen on their own. And those were the few times where I actually had real results with girls. Believe it or not, it blew my mind. I was being normal with, a little bit of flavor added here and there, but I didn't try too hard and the girls enjoyed it. And that was kind of a huge epiphany for me, and realizing that even if I'm not the most naturally attractive guy, girls could still be somewhat attracted if I just played it cool. Now, when I say I played it cool, that doesn't mean that I wasn't proactive. It just meant that I didn't try too hard to impress them. Of course, when I had these few results, I'm like, oh, I can just play it cool all the time. But then I stopped being as proactive as I was before, and again, I didn't get the results that I wanted, and so it was just a very frustrating process for me for a very long time. But at some point I realized I have no choice but to work extra hard. My friends may be able to get girls quicker and easier, but I'm not them. I can't just put on 10-inch heels and pretend like I'm tall. I have to earn what I get. Anyway, I'm going to fast forward to when I started filming for my YouTube channel. At this point, I was very comfortable going out at night and talking to girls, and once in a while, something would happen. But it was still very uncomfortable to speak to girls during the day. It's a totally different dynamic. At night, people go out to socialize, alcohol is involved, so they're a lot more relaxed, and they kind of expect you to interact with them. During the day, a girl's walking down the street and you're chasing her down, and then it's like, okay, why am I talking to this girl? What am I going to talk about? She's in a rush somewhere. How do I, keep her here? I can't be relaxed. I have to put on some performance, otherwise she has to leave. And it was just a whole different dynamic that I had to learn. And so most of the clips that you want to see are obviously from the day, because when I started my YouTube channel, I was filming primarily during the day. Before I break down all the clips, I'm going to let you watch them in succession and try to figure out on your own what things have changed over time. and then I'll go over it in more detail. Hey, I just had to meet you because you're so tall. No good. Excuse me. I just thought you were really cute and I wanted to say hello. What? Houston, we have a problem. Hold on, you're very cute and I had to come say hello.
Hi.
What's your name?
I'm Abby.
I'm Boris. Where are you off to?
An appointment.
Stop.
Sorry.
For 2 minutes.
I really gotta go.
I'm galloping to tell you have extremely purple hair.
Yes.
And I don't care if there are 7 billion people in this world. I want you. End of story. Beginning of romance. What is this? Is that you?
Sticker? That's my art.
That's you? If it's you, I'd love to put it on my body.
Where?
Anywhere you want. You choose. Who is the sexiest man alive?
George Clooney.
Wrong answer.
What's the correct answer?
Bo.
Who?
Bo.
Bo?
Sexy numero uno.
We lost really early, so I've been drinking a lot of fits.
I just woke up.
Yeah, I went out last night. I woke up.
When I saw
like
you.
7.
What do you like about it?
What I like? Let's see. Foreignness.
Yeah, boy, you're a sexy bitch. What can I say?
See, like that. That's perfect.
Hey, I just had to meet you because you're so tall. No good. Okay, so the first clip, overall, pretty pathetic. This was on the first day of filming. I tell guys that they need to see themselves or hear themselves so they know what they need to change. Immediately when I watched that clip, I said, holy crap, what are these baggy shorts I'm wearing? Why didn't anybody tell me that I look like a complete clown with these shorts on? I realized I need to dress a little bit better if I want to have any chance with these girls to talk to me. Secondly, the opener was complete garbage. I had to meet you because you were tall. As she is walking by, and of course, she just completely disacknowledges me. Can you blame the girl for disacknowledging me when I look like that and I sound like that? My voice is very weak, there's no masculine energy, and I'm not creating any kind of vibe when I approach the girl. I'm just like making some kind of comment as she walks by. Very bad. Excuse me. I just thought you were really cute and I wanted to say hello. What? A month later, my style is a little bit better. Not great, but at least the clothes kind of fit me. Here I learned that I want to stop the girl first before I say what I have to say. So I said, excuse me. She kind of stopped and then I continued. But when I continued, it was very weak again. My voice was weak. I went to the go-to, hey, you're cute, I wanted to say hi opener, which is, in my opinion, terrible if you don't have the rest of your personality under control. And so when your voice is weak and there's no masculine energy and there's no vibe, then the whole you're cute just sounds completely pathetic. Houston, we have a problem. Hold on, you're very cute and I had to come say hello.
Hi.
What's your name?
I'm Abby.
I'm Boris. Where are you off to?
An appointment.
Stop.
Sorry.
For 2 minutes.
I really gotta go.
Okay, a month later, I'm starting to get a little bit more creative. I use one of my movie quote openers to approach a girl. But the problem is, I have nothing to back it up with. So I make that one statement, it's kind of funny or whatever, but then I'm like, oh, where are you going? What are you doing? And I start questioning her, and I try to get her to stop, even though she's on her way somewhere. Again, I don't create any kind of vibe. I'm kind of needy, and I have nothing to really offer to the girl. I'm just like, oh, hey, you're cute, come talk to me. Doesn't work like that. So a common thread in all these mistakes is that I expected the girls to somehow, for some reason, just want to talk to me by me simply like sticking out my hand or saying, hey, you're cute. If it were that easy, Every guy would go out and do it. The one good thing I did have under my belt was that I wasn't taking the rejection too seriously. This is where my rule number 1 originates from. So I realized I need to put in a little bit more effort if I wanted to get more consistent results. I was still getting some results at the time, and those interactions I used for my YouTube videos, but the majority were similar to this, where they just kind of went nowhere and I had no real plan. So a few major lessons that I had from the first few months of filming were that I had to improve my appearance, first and foremost. I'm not naturally attractive guy, like I've said, I'm not tall, and so I had to make sure that at least I looked kind of normal. Basically, I needed to be picture worthy. In other words, if the girl's not willing to take a picture with you, then you have no chance. If she's not willing to be seen with you, you have no chance. Secondly is I had to use my voice a lot more effectively. Because I don't have the physical size to communicate that masculine energy, I needed to do it with my voice. So that's when I began to train my vocals. And ultimately, your voice is the most powerful way to communicate masculinity. And finally, I had to take full responsibility for the content and the vibe of the interaction. I couldn't expect the girl to contribute anything in the first few minutes. I'm the one approaching. I have to deliver and offer value enough so that she is more comfortable and willing to contribute something back. I no longer expected girls to just want to meet me because I stuck out my hand. I realized that I had to earn it with some personality. I'm galloping to tell you have extremely purple hair.
Yes.
And I don't care if there are 7 billion people in this world. I want you. End of story. Beginning of romance. What is this?
You
Is that
like
you?
sticker? That's my art.
That's you? If it's you, I'd love to put it on my body.
Where?
Anywhere you want. You choose. Notice how this approach is completely different from the first 3 that you watched. The first thing that you should become aware of is that I am there to amuse myself, first and foremost. I galloped as I approached her. Secondly, I didn't go over there to try and meet her like I did in the first few clips. I just started talking. Also notice my voice and my body language is quite different. I'm a lot more centered and grounded and calm, and I'm using my voice to accentuate certain things. I'm using the volume of my voice at times and intonation to become more effective in communicating what I have to say. And I'm flirting with her while keeping a straight face, which certainly helps in building that sexual tension. Who is the sexiest man alive?
George Clooney.
Wrong answer.
What's the correct answer?
Bo.
Who?
Bo.
Bo?
Sexy numero uno.
We lost really early, so I've been drinking a lot of fits.
I just woke up.
Yeah, I went out last night. I woke up.
When I saw
like
you.
7.
What do you like about it?
What I like? Let's see. Foreignness.
Yeah, well, you're a sexy bitch. What can I say?
See, like that. That's perfect.
The one thing I wanted you to notice in this clip was the way I asked questions. When I asked her questions, I wasn't looking for a particular answer. I didn't care what her answer was. In fact, my questions were more what I call leading questions. Meaning I used the question to lead into some kind of joke or story that I'm going to tell right afterwards. So it's not a real question and like, hey, what are you up to? Or hey, what are you doing? It's more like, oh, so do you know who the sexiest man is? Oh, cool, actually I am. Sometimes you can't just like bust into a random story, you need to set it up with a question. And that's how I use questions in this particular example. So there's a difference between like questioning a girl and then asking leading questions that lead into something more expressive. Now, in those 2 previous clips, the girls generally responded positively to me. At this time, I still got rejection and I still had interactions that didn't really go anywhere. I was making progress in terms of taking responsibility for the interaction, but sometimes I didn't know how to deal with challenges that girls often gave me, whether they had a boyfriend or I was too short for them or whatever it may be. So my focus then turned on how to deal with those situations. The next clip and final clip I'm going to show you and it was filmed 3 months later in Barcelona. They say Spanish is the language of love. So maybe you can teach me a few words.
I think it's not gonna be possible.
Why is that?
I'm waiting for my boyfriend, so.
I'm better looking. Is he as guapo as me?
No, not really.
Okay, well there you go. Maybe it's time for you to upgrade. I'm only here for 2 weeks, so our romance, if it happened, would be very short-lived. Do you want to be my Spanish tour guide?
You're a Spanish what?
Tour guide.
Tour guide?
Yeah.
No, I'm too busy now.
Now you look really busy right now.
Yeah.
Standing on the corner.
No.
Look, I'm in Barcelona for 2 weeks, okay?
Wait, I'm gonna
what do you?
send a picture of you for a friend of me. I will send her. She's single, actually.
Can you send me your phone number as well?
No.
Give me your phone number before your boyfriend comes.
No, that's impossible.
What do you mean it's impossible? Oh, give me your friend's phone number.
She don't speak English.
It's okay. I know a few words in Spanish.
What would you say if you have a date with my friend?
I'll say, ¿Quieres salami? Okay, you know what? I just want to be your friend.
I just want to be your friend.
Yeah. And
You're funny, actually. You were right, yeah. I think you'll like him.
I'm not here for your boyfriend. But
I know.
Yeah.
That's why.
I'm not into threesomes either, if that's what you're implying.
Maybe I'm gonna have a beer waiting.
Okay, let's go.
Hey, this is Marco.
I was hitting on your girlfriend.
Yeah, I can tell that.
She didn't give in though. She didn't give in. No, I tried my best. But
yeah.
You want to have a beer with us?
Are you buying?
Now you're busy. No, you're busy.
No.
Oh, busy man. If you want to catch up, we will be there.
So this interaction was basically, about 15 minutes of me dealing with challenges. At first, the girl was very cold to me. She didn't pay much attention to me, and she kind of tried to get rid of me a few times and told me that I had no chance with her because she was waiting for her boyfriend and because she doesn't date short guys. Instead of viewing it as rejection, I had a lot of fun with it. The girl was pretty damn hot, and I said, hey, you know what? I'm gonna stick in here for as long as possible and see how much I can amuse myself and how much I can make her laugh before I leave. And I wanted to see what her boyfriend looked like. So finally, after like 15 minutes, her boyfriend did arrive, and I met him, and then she ended up inviting me for drinks. Now, why did I show this clip in particular? I didn't pick her up and take her home. But once you figure out how to deal with a situation like this, talking to a single girl at a bar becomes a walk in the park. If you can approach a hot, taller girl on a street corner who's waiting for her boyfriend and talk to her for 15 minutes and make her laugh for 15 minutes and deal with all her bullshit shit tests for 15 minutes and then have her invite you out along with her boyfriend to grab drinks, then you have established a very good foundation for your game that you can go out and apply and get, real results. So again, once you establish this kind of foundation and you start applying it to single girls and maybe even some girls who may be a bit intoxicated, then things start to work in your favor and you'll see a lot of results. In conclusion, I hope that you realize you can make a huge transformation in your life over the course of a relatively short period of time if you apply yourself appropriately. Recording yourself is probably the best thing you can do so you can actually see what you look like and what you sound like and take action to change it for the better. I made a lot more progress in the past year than I did in the first 4 years when I started out, simply because I was able to see what I was doing and then make the appropriate changes. If you don't have somebody more experienced to coach you, this is the best alternative to it. As you can see, I didn't grow up no natural, and the things I do, anybody can do. So, go get 'em, Tiger. Alright boys, I'm about to teach you how to record yourself and how to analyze yourself as well. This is probably the one thing that will help you improve the fastest. I didn't have a coach growing up to tell me what I was doing right and what I was doing wrong. So I didn't figure a lot of it out until I started seeing myself on camera. If you don't have someone to visually record you, then audio will also help, but ideally you get both the visuals and the audio. So first, let's get into the technical side of things. First, I want to start with my YouTube videos. I usually use this Canon camcorder. It costs about $1,000. It's called the Vixia HF-G20. It's got a nice 10 times optical zoom, and it has 2 slots for memory card, which you won't need 2 slots, but it's a neat little camcorder, and it works very well. I of course want like quality video footage for my YouTube videos, as quality as I can get on a budget. You don't need something like this if you're just recording yourself for learning purposes, but this is what I use for YouTube primarily. And these are the microphones. They're the Sennheiser wireless mics. So there's 2 of these. So the first one goes into the camcorder, and the other one goes onto the person, in field. And this guy has a mic attached to him with a clip-on. Okay, and you can see it. It's a clip-on. Basically, you just clip it on anywhere, on your shirt or whatever, somewhere where it's, not visible. If you can't clip it on anywhere, the other thing I do is I just tape it around a necklace like this, and I just put it under my shirt. So that's what I use for YouTube, and that way the video and the audio is automatically synced when you record. The other option is to film the video and the audio separately. This is a much cheaper option, of course. So again, you have the microphone, except this time you attach it simply to an audio recorder. This is the PX333, and it's, I don't know, it costs maybe 60 to 80 bucks. It was the cheapest one I could find at Best Buy. I think there are some cheaper ones on Amazon. And so this is your audio source, and then maybe you'll use something like a GoPro for your video source. You can also use a phone camera if you're really on a budget, but I like to use the GoPro because it's very, very small. And also, there's a setting, so right now it's recording, but there's no way for you to know that it's recording. So there's a way you can take off all the flashes. There's 2 lights here. There's a way you can take off all the flashes, and it can be very, very discreet. And you can just cover it up like this, hold it in your hand. Sometimes I'll even film my interactions just like this, talking to girls. So it's a nice little tool to have in your box. Now, if you record the video and the audio separately, that means that you're going to have to sync them afterwards so that you can watch the video with the audio attached to it. The easiest way to do this is to start recording both devices at the same time, and then count to 3 and clap your hands 3 times. And that way, when you go into your video software, it'll be very easy to align the claps, and everything else will be synced naturally. You can do this in any video editing software. If you have a Mac, you can do it in iMovie. Anything that edits videos, you can use. If you use Final Cut Pro, there's actually a feature that allows you to automatically synchronize video and audio clips. There are plenty of YouTube tutorials out there that will teach you how to do all this stuff, so look them up. Okay, so once you figure out how to record yourself and you have something to work with, I want you to consider a few things, especially if you're a beginner. The first is how you dress. Are you wearing anything that's too baggy, too goofy, or just too bland? If you are, try to change that. Wear clothes that fit you. Don't wear 20 different colors at once. And also don't wear all gray. Try to dress relatively normal so that you're not perceived as a weirdo, okay? Secondly, I want you to look at your body language. Are you leaning in a lot when you're talking to girls? Are you reaching for their attention? Hey, stop, come back, I want to talk to you. Or are you fidgeting too much? If there's too much nervous body movement, the girl will become nervous as well. Basically, when you're talking to the girl, does it look like you have conviction in what you're saying, or do you look kind of weak and stifled and nervous? Next up, I want you to notice what you sound like. Make sure you're not talking too fast or too slow. Don't uptalk, and make sure the girl can actually hear you. Otherwise, nothing else matters. When it comes to the actual conversation with a girl, make sure you're not asking too many questions. Remember, the goal should be for you to talk about 80% of the time in the first, say, 5 minutes. This means you need to tell a lot of stories, make statements, observations, etc. As you watch your interactions, I want you to ask yourself, could the girl be having this same conversation with her grandma? If the answer is yes, then there's no vibe in the interaction. This means you need to focus a little bit more on self-amusement and being a little more direct with the girl. More man-to-woman communication. Finally, I want you to notice how you deal with challenges. Do you get stifled by them, or do you have fun with them? Write out the most common challenges girls give you and prepare a few remarks for them. You can't imagine how important this is. Again, a girl is not just going to open up to any stranger on the street. Use the challenges as opportunities to showcase your personality and your determination. Okay? And after you beat the challenges, you just keep talking. Within 5-10 minutes, the girl should be asking herself, who is this guy? And wanting to find out more. That's when she's going to start contributing to the interaction, asking you questions, and creating a more 50-50 balance in the conversation. As you do this more, and you record yourself, and you watch yourself, and you compare yourself to others, you're going to start learning a lot more along the way. You're going to naturally start figuring out what you need to work on the more that you study yourself. I know it may be a little bit weird at first when you're recording yourself or you're even watching yourself, but I can't tell you how valuable it is, so go out and do it. So you want a hot girl. Who doesn't? But what is a hot girl? For me, it goes far beyond just the physical appearance, but here are some examples of what I consider to be hot girls. Their faces are actually probably their best assets, but unfortunately, I can't show you guys that. But for the purpose of defining what a hot girl is, let's just say it's the kind of girl that gets noticed wherever she goes. So to understand what it takes to get a hot girl, you have to step inside the world of a hot girl. For about 10 years of their life, say from age 18 to about 28, they essentially have the red carpet rolled out for them. They have tons of people trying to get their attention, trying to spend time with them, trying to invite them out. They're essentially like celebrities. Now, from my experiences, there are several types of hot girls. The first is the ones that get approached all the time. I'm talking like 10, 20, 30 guys per day. Basically, these girls just get tons of attention all the time. The other type are ones that never get approached because they're simply too intimidating for the average guy. There's also super friendly hot girls. In other words, girls that are aware that they won the genetic lottery and are nice about it. And then there's the super bitchy hot girls, the ones that have the unhealthy sense of entitlement to everything in the world. Now, before I get into some of the more specifics on how to deal with hot girls, all the foundations of short guy game still apply. The 2 rules, how to properly control your body and your voice, how to talk and express yourself, and of course, how to deal with challenges. And the hotter the girl, the more challenges you should expect throughout the entire process. So the first step is applying rule number 1. If the hot girl has 20 different guys approach her every day, you can't get jealous. You can't get intimidated. all you can do is just laugh about it. Don't take it so seriously. Even joke around and say, hey, damn girl, you're like a celebrity out here. Now, if she has nobody approach her, view it as a positive. Think to yourself, damn, I'm the only guy that has the balls to approach this hot girl. Good for me. If she's super friendly, view her as a super friendly girl. The odds are she's probably friendly to everybody, not just you. So don't make assumptions based on her behavior. And if she's super bitchy, realize that she's probably bitchy for a reason. You're probably guy number 30 for the day, and she's just tired of talking to all these dudes. So if you want to show her that you have some social intelligence, you might even say, oh, shit, I'm probably guy number 30 today. Sorry, I just, thought you looked nice, so I wanted to say hi. And the very worst you're going to get is a smile from her. Also realize that bitchy girls aren't typically bitchy with their friends. They're just bitchy to all these random strangers approaching them time and time again, and they're just fed up with it. With their friends, they're probably sweethearts. So just view it as a bitch shield that you kind of have to get through. Again, rule number 1 will help you absorb that bitchiness and not affect your emotional state, whereas most other guys will probably get frustrated by it. I want to introduce to you a statistical concept. It's called the normal distribution. The SD stands for standard deviation. Now, you can Google this and read up more about it if you don't already know what it is. But without getting into any technical details, what you need to know is that hot girls are outliers. I'm talking about the really hot girls. If you walk down the street, maybe 1 in 20 of girls that you see will be very hot. If you have high standards, maybe 1 in 50 or 1 in 100. So the percentage of very hot girls in the world is between, say, 1 and 5%. Now, of course, there's a lot of other cute girls, but I'm talking about the really hot ones. And if you go to a city like LA or New York, maybe that percentage will rise a little bit. So the hot girls are about 2 to 3 standard deviations out, away from the average. Naturally, as a normal distribution will showcase, the majority of people fall within the average category. That's what makes them average. They're within 1 standard deviation from the mean. And the hot girls are the outliers towards the right, the positive outliers. Now, the secret is that to attract an outlier, like a very hot girl, you yourself have to become an outlier. You have to be different. Now, that could mean many things. Maybe you're very rich, or you're famous, or you're very funny, or you're very charismatic, or you're the quarterback on the football team, or you're the lead singer in a popular rock band, or you run a very successful business. Basically, whatever it is that you do, you're much better than everybody else at it. And that thing that you do, it could be many different things. That doesn't mean that every girl will be attracted to a musician, but there are a lot that will be. Doesn't mean that every girl will be attracted to a very rich dude, but again, there are a lot that will be. So whatever it is that you love doing, you have to become really good at it. You have to be the kind of guy that people notice and that people are interested about and learning more about. You have to be an outlier also. Fortunately for men, physical appearance is not as important as it is for a woman. For a girl to be a positive outlier, she has to be hot. She has to look good. This is why women spend so much time shopping and, getting ready when they go out. With men, it's different. What determines a man's attractiveness has more to do with his character and his personality. This means that for a man to be a positive outlier, he can actually do one of many, many things. Now, if you're not a positive outlier and you want a hot girl, you better have found her at a very young age. If you're her first love and you build this super strong emotional connection from the get-go, and then you get married to her and you spend the rest of your life with her, that could also work. Now, unfortunately, that did not happen to me, so I had to take the outlier approach. When actually talking to her, you still have to apply the outlier mindset. Telling her she's beautiful, or buying her a drink, or just having a regular conversation is not sufficient. Why? Because every other guy does it. You're just not different enough for her to be intrigued. She literally gets it all day, every day. Most guys are just way too predictable, and they don't realize how average their approach is. Now, over the years, what I've learned to be the commodity in a hot girl's life is 3 things. The first is to be normal. Not weird, not creepy. The second is to be fun and funny. And the third is to have your own thing going on in your life. What I realized is, while these girls get hit up by all these dudes, most of these guys are pretty weird. They're kind of creepers. They're kind of douchey. Because it's this group of guys that don't have any social reservations of walking up to a girl and hitting on her in the middle of the street. It's the guys that aren't afraid to holler at a girl across the street. These are typically not quality men, unfortunately. So the guys that constantly hit on these girls are not the guys that the girls ultimately want. The guys that the girls ultimately want don't need to approach them. They have tons of girls entering their life because they have a cool life. They have a cool social life with a lot of friends. A lot of them have. If guys are good with girls, they're probably making money. They probably have a lot of female friends that introduce them to other females, and so things just work so naturally for them. The guys that usually try to pick up girls on the street are not the high quality guys. Now, we're gonna change that because we're gonna become high quality guys, and we'll still approach girls through our daily life because we're fucking bosses. All right? If you can manage to approach in a non-weird way and just get a regular conversation flowing with a little bit of humor sprinkled in, you're already way ahead of the pack. A non-weird conversation would be one that you could have with either a hot girl or a grandma, basically with anybody in any situation. Remember the volume knob concept? It takes girls a lot longer for them to get interested in a guy than it does for a guy to get interested in a girl. So when you apply this principle, you realize that you don't need to hit on the girl within the first 10 to 15 minutes. In fact, it's probably better to make her feel comfortable with you and make you trust you than it is to try and attract her. Now, this does not mean you can't be direct and flirty and funny. I do it all the time, but I am never very direct with my verbals because I know the girls expect to hear that. If you act too needy or too interested in the girl, you will lose her almost instantly because you get categorized with all the other regular dudes. Now, being normal is something that maybe you guys won't understand because you might view it as being boring. But the reality is, what makes you an attractive guy isn't so much what you say, it's just more of the person that you are. When you reach a certain threshold of just being an attractive dude, the kind that, people just want to talk to, you realize that having boring conversations is kind of important, especially at the beginning, because you build some comfort and trust with the girl. If you're too direct or too funny or whatever, it's like you're putting on some kind of show, and the girl just can't relate to you on a more normal level. And while she might laugh and she might call you funny and compliment you on your game, she won't want to spend time with you. She just won't understand you. And the ultimate goal is to spend time with the girl, not to try and impress her. It's also important to show that you're normal so she's not afraid of getting raped. This is a legitimate concern most girls, especially hot girls, have whenever they go out, especially when it's dark outside. So instead of telling a girl that she's beautiful, I might say it in a more indirect fashion. At some point, if we're having a very normal conversation, I'll say, hey, so you realize that I find you attractive, right? And it kind of puts her on the spot because I'm telling her I find her attractive, but I'm asking it in a kind of funny, charming question. And she might smile or giggle or something. So it's a much lighter way of complimenting her instead of the, hey, you're beautiful. Because to me, it's just kind of lame. She knows she's beautiful, and she hears it all the time. So again, I want to be different in how I approach this. Here are some actual clips on how I would hit on a girl in a more creative way. What's your name? I'm Bo.
Bo?
Yeah.
Okay.
I did that so I could see your booty. What do you like? What do you like about that?
What I like? Let's see. Forwardness. Sometimes it's a good thing.
Oh, you're a sexy bitch. What can I say?
See, like that. That's perfect. Nice. Nice touch.
Obviously, I'm still very direct, but there's a lot of humor that goes into it that makes it a lot lighter. Now, as you all know, girls are very emotional beings. And one of the things that they want out of life is a wide range of emotional experiences. They enjoy the fun stuff, but they also enjoy the drama. They love gossip. They love going on adventures. They love being spontaneous. They love reading those romance novels to take their imagination somewhere. And the hot girls will appreciate that wide range of emotions even more so than the average girl. This is because the average guy approaches her on a much more regular basis. And so most men to hot girls are just very predictable and they get bored out of them. So if you're able to be very fun and or funny, this is a huge, huge positive and attractive quality, especially for hotter girls. Of course, being fun and funny communicates a lot of very positive qualities about you, like having social intelligence, like being spontaneous, being confident, seeking adventure and so forth. So if you're able to create a fun lifestyle, girls will naturally be attracted to you. So if you don't have money or any kind of talent or any kind of real passion in life, try to make your life as fun as possible. And that will naturally attract so many girls you can't even imagine. And the third thing that's very important, again, is having your own thing going on in your life. This means doing your own thing, not relying on a girl to create positive feelings in your life. Going out there, experiencing the world through your own eyes, doing fun shit, having some kind of hobbies, having some kind of social circle, going after what you want in life. And so basically not being a value leecher, but trying to offer value to the world. The last thing a girl wants is some needy dude that calls her every day. It's just highly unattractive. And for hotter girls that have so many options, they're gonna cut you off right away. Now, when you're out with a hot girl, expect to get a lot of attention. Guys will still approach her even if you're there beside her. It's not gonna stop them. And you have to be able to deal with that. You can't get jealous. You can't get nervous. You have to embrace it and, find the humor in it. In other words, apply rule number 1. Now, I used to be intimidated when guys approached me while I was with a girl because I used to be afraid that they would steal the girl away from me. But as I got better, I started finding it amusing. I realized that, number 1, most guys really have no idea what the hell they're doing when they approach a girl. And number 2, it takes a lot to win over a hot girl. I mean, it's definitely not going to happen in the period of 2 to 5 minutes. And that's the average amount of time that a guy can talk to a girl anyways, especially a hot one. If you're not a celebrity, you have to be damn funny or very charismatic or really, really confident without being too aggressive. In other words, if you're not a celebrity, it takes a lot to win over a hot girl that you approach in a bar or on the street. It's not an easy task. And like I've mentioned earlier, if you're somebody like that who can get the hot girls, the odds are you're not going to be approaching hot girls that are with guys because you already have a lot of options available to you. So you're not the kind of guy that's going to try and steal a girl away from a dude. So usually the guys that interfere are the guys that have very low value and are either weird or douchey. And as a result, them coming in and showing how stupid they are actually pumps up my value because I'm able to maintain my composure. And then when they leave, it's something that you can laugh about. Now, all the hot girls I've spent time with up to this point in my life have all been as a result of my personality, 100%. Status, fame, or my career have not played any factor in it because I've had none of them. So the only way I've been able to attract these girls is through my personality and I guess the emotions that I'm able to make these girls feel. And some of the things that they've said about me is that, number 1, I'm different. Number 2, I'm fun or funny. And number 3, I'm normal. So from a personality perspective, those are 3 of the most important things that you would want to strive for if you want to spend more time with really hot girls. Finally, to get and keep hotter girls, you have to feel 100% entitled to them. You have to truly believe deep down that you should be with them, or that there's at least no reason why you shouldn't be with them. When I first started out 5 years ago, I had a lot of trouble internalizing this belief. 5 years ago, I was a short, scrawny kid that didn't know what he valued in life, that didn't have much self-confidence or self-esteem, and just didn't know how to hold a conversation. And so feeling entitled to a hot girl was just completely out of my reality. So over the past 5 years, I've invested heavily in myself and my life. So now, if I don't feel entitled to a certain kind of girl, I look back at some of the things that I have accomplished. For example, I've played guitar for the past 10 years. I used to play in several rock bands growing up. I've traveled to over 15 countries. I've traveled to different cities and lived in different cities by myself, and I've had to make new friends on several occasions. I graduated from one of the toughest business schools in Canada. Now I run my own business. I take care of my body and my mind. I eat well, I work out, and through pickup, I've learned how to talk to just about anybody in any situation. So I'm very socially savvy. Now when you add all of this stuff up, you become different. And you've experienced already so much more than the average person that you start feeling entitled to more in life, such as the hotter girls. When I go out with a hotter girl, I can create situations that most other guys can't. I can make her laugh, we can go on an adventure, we can be spontaneous, and if any issues arise, I have the mental toughness to deal with it. Because I went out to the nightclubs for several years and I tried to pick up the tallest girls in the club, I learned how to deal with a lot of bullshit and a lot of challenges. Because let me tell you something, when a girl is a foot above you and you're trying to pick her up, damn son, you're gonna get a lot of resistance, and you have to be damn funny to learn how to deal with it. So through that whole process, I've developed my character that ultimately makes me a bit different and more attractive to some of the hotter girls. So the secret is that when you invest in yourself over a long period of time and you do multiple things, it's not additive, meaning 1 + 1 does not equal 2. It's not additive, it's actually exponential. It's compounded. So the more things that you do to invest in yourself, the product of it all is much greater than the sum. To give you an example, the more you read about any topic, the more you remember about it. The more a master you become, the more you focus on the details. Initially, it seems kind of counterintuitive because you would think the more you read, the more information you have in your brain, and it's the harder to remember it all. But the reality is, the more you exercise your brain, the more productive it becomes later on, and you start to remember small details from books that most other people won't remember. It's the same with character development. The more you invest in yourself, the more impressive you will be overall. So, in conclusion, if you want the outliers, if you want those really hot girls, you basically have to become an outlier. You have to be different, but not weird different. You still have to fit in within society. You still have to be the kind of guy that the girl wants introduced to her friends or her family. But you have to be different enough to become that interesting guy that people want to learn about, to know about, to talk about. You have to be able to offer a unique experience to the girl, especially when it comes to her emotions. Again, that wide range of emotions to a hot girl is very important. And the only way to really hit at all those spots is to become a unique case yourself. Now, depending on where you're at in your life, this journey will be longer for some and shorter for others. But in the end, it will all be worth it. So wherever it is that you're at, you might as well start now. And worst case, you're going to learn a lot through the whole process. So, moral of the story is, be different, make sure she has fun, and feel like you deserve her. Now, I'm all for giving it your best. I'm all for self-improvement. I'm all for being fun and funny and confident and creative. But sometimes I really don't feel like trying that hard. Sometimes I don't want to be impressive. Sometimes I just want things to happen with minimal effort. One thing I've learned over the years is that you actually don't need to be that impressive to get the girl. In fact, sometimes trying to be too impressive can hurt you. This, of course, made me very happy because I'm actually an introvert. And this meant that I could still get a girl without having to put on some kind of performance. I could just be congruent with my emotions and everything could still work out in my favor. Now, the key here is minimal effort, not no effort at all. This means that you still have to approach, you still have to talk, you still have to lead. But you don't necessarily have to do it in a fancy way. Now, I have a perfect example to show you guys what I mean by boring game. But before I get into the clips, let me give you a quick backstory. This was my first night back in Las Vegas. So the previous night I was in LA, and that night I went out. And long story short, I met a girl, I don't know, around 1 or 2 a.m. and we ended up hanging out together until like 4 a.m. And I had to wake up the next day at 6 a.m. to drive back to Las Vegas so that I could return the rental car so I wouldn't get charged more fees. So in other words, I slept maybe an hour or two, somewhat uncomfortably in somebody else's bed, and I was, running on very little sleep. And when I came back to Vegas, I had a full day of activities planned out, which included going grocery shopping on the bus and filming at the mall to create some more videos for you guys. So in other words, I was pretty exhausted. I had very little energy, but I still went out that night because it was a Friday after all. So on the approach, I used a funny line, and the only purpose really was to just get that conversation going. As you'll notice, the girl did respond to my questions, but she never really acknowledged my presence within the first minute of the interaction. She just kind of kept walking, and I tagged along trying to make something happen. Yeah, this one. Excuse me. You're a bit short for me, but I can make an exception tonight.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. What? You're running away from something.
Yes.
Well, I am your savior.
I was trying to go in that club.
What?
I was trying to go in that club, but they wouldn't let me in with the person I was with. So
Were you actually with them, or was he just following you around?
That.
Wow, whatever. The clubs are almost closed. Are you going in here? You're just trying to party tonight, and people are...
I'm trying to get away from...
Okay, well, I'll protect you. What's your name? What? I'm Boris.
Nice to meet you.
Where did you learn this firm handshake of yours?
I don't know. I have my own business, so...
Okay, entrepreneur. Going hard. Are you here by yourself in Vegas?
No, my friends are here, but they're doing their own thing.
As in they're sleeping, or they've already hooked up with some jock?
No, they're...
Alright, well, I say we get the party started.
We just go in a circle?
This is surrender. How tall are you really? Then I guess I got a little bit lucky because as she made a turn, she found a passport on the ground. So she stopped, picked it up, looked through it, and then for a few seconds we talked about giving it to security or reception. This gave me the opportunity to engage her in conversation while she was standing still, because up until that point I hadn't been able to stop her. Yeah, I could use one of these.
Seems important.
Michael Vincent. Is this a real passport?
Looks real. You should give it back to.
I'll give them to security later. You're 5'9".
Yeah.
Shit. It's my favorite height. I think you would look really badass next to me. Yeah. I am 5 feet of love.
5 what?
5 feet of love, baby.
Yeah.
Now, since I knew that she was on her own and she had no real plan for the night, I took a bit of a risk there. And as I was talking, I sat down on one of the chairs. I was hoping that she would just kind of get engaged in the conversation and sit down next to me. And lucky for me, that's exactly what happened.
How old are you?
Huh?
How old are you?
Take a guess.
No, I don't want to.
Come on, you could at least guess the range.
Why? Can I just plead the fifth?
Play the game with me. Yeah. This is really strange. You're right. Are you in your 20s? 27.
You are?
But I look a little bit younger than that. 25-ish.
About
24,
24.
25. It's because I use a lot of anti-aging cream.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'm taking precautions for the future.
Smart. You're thinking way ahead.
A long-term thinker. And you are probably as well, given that you're an entrepreneur.
Try.
What kind of business do you run?
I have a ballet studio.
Ballet?
Well, dance studio, but I do ballet.
Are you a professional ballet dancer? Oh. Can you do like the splits? Put your head up over your head?
Not in this dress, but yes, I can.
That is really cool and scary at the same time. I don't know, I always found that stuff like very extreme.
As in intimidating, or?
I'm not intimidated necessarily by a ballet dancer, but
Dang.
you know what I mean. Well, actually, it's much worse when guys do the splits. That's scary to me.
That would really hurt.
After we sat down, we had some casual conversation. Some may even say it was pretty boring conversation. We covered all the boring topics of what do you do, where you're from, who you're here with, but we kind of got through it. So it was mostly boring conversation with some humor sprinkled in here and there. If I tried to be captivating, given my low energy, it probably would have come off as incongruent and kind of weird. So, you know what, I just stuck with my boring state the whole way through.
Where do you live?
Toronto. Toronto, Canada.
Do you speak French?
Non. Parlez-vous français? Voulez-vous coucher avec moi?
Just walking around.
Yeah, I don't want to go to bed. And I saw you and I fell in love and I'm like, yo, tall girls, I love them. Let's see what she's like. Hopefully she's as cute on the inside as she is on the outside. So far I'm right. No, I'm staying across from Caesars. Yeah. But I really like this hotel and I like the clubs here. Excess and Surrender.
Yeah, we weren't allowed in.
But I like coming here on like Sunday and Monday because that's industry night. And it's free for locals. I got a local ID.
Why?
Why?
Yeah, I thought you live in Toronto.
I do, but I'm here for a few weeks.
Oh.
So I got a local ID and I get into the clubs for free during the week.
That's cool.
It shouldn't matter for you because you're a girl. You guys get it free anyways, but for what? During the week? You can find some scissors and take off a couple inches.
I like this dress. I want to cut it up.
Are you staying here?
No.
Where are you staying?
Planet Hollywood.
That's like pretty far.
Yeah. I spent so much money in cafes.
But you know what? With those legs, you could take it in like 5 minutes.
On these shoes, no.
What?
I can't walk in these shoes out there for that long.
Yeah, we can swap shoes and then, or I can give you a piggyback ride.
I can walk.
But after like 2 minutes, I'm gonna collapse.
Yeah, I know.
I haven't squatted in like 2 months, so maybe I need the exercise. After about 10 minutes, I started getting a little bit too bored with it all, and I started thinking about what I could possibly do next. But notice that I didn't try and act like some alpha dude and try to impose my plans on the girl. I simply just asked her if she wanted to do something. You want to do something? I'm getting bored.
Like what?
Huh?
Like what?
I don't know. Well, I'm trying to come up with ideas, but
Okay, I'll think.
we can. Sure, between the two of us, we can brainstorm something exciting.
So you haven't been drinking? Do you drink?
I mean, I drink. I am sober currently. You want to grab a drink? But not here.
Why?
That's expensive. So around this point, a magician guy happened to come in and spice up our evening for a few minutes.
I think you should go turn it back in now.
Okay, come.
I'll wait for you there.
Okay, well, where should I go? Fucking
I don't know.
reception.
Yes. Go.
Hey guys, I do magic. Can I do a magic trick for you guys?
Yeah, man, we're sure.
Please.
Spice
I
up
love
our
doing
evening.
magic.
Spice up our evening.
You guys look like you're having a great evening. But let me spice it up a little. Check this out.
Can you tell we're out of control?
Yeah,
we're
you guys
super
look like
enthusiastic.
you're drinking. You look like you're having a great time.
Yeah, we're
Maybe you guys
trashed.
look like you want to get a drink elsewhere. But before you go, let me do a magic trick for you guys. Ready? Well, I hope you guys enjoy your night.
Hey, can you do us a favor?
Yeah.
Can you give this to reception? We found it on the ground.
Whoa. Passport.
I know, I checked it out too. I was like, whose is this?
We don't know him.
Can you do a magic trick with that?
Can you put my face on that passport?
You're like, and now it disappears.
I mean, if you really want, I'll go hand this in because, you know, it's the nice thing.
You don't work here, do you?
As far as you guys know. Have a good night, you guys.
All right. Getting entertained by multiple sources now. Look at you, attracting attention.
I'm not attracting attention.
What?
I'm not attracting.
Well, these legs are attracting attention. So now it's almost 15 minutes into the interaction, and it's not the most exciting interaction, and it's also getting pretty late. It's definitely past 2 in the morning, and so I know it's time to make a move. As you'll notice, it's all very vague. There are no clear plans. I just say, let's go grab a drink, let's go to the taxis. Okay, listen, I'm in love with you, so do you want to hang out?
Yes.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, I'm gonna go to the bathroom first.
You know where the washrooms are? I think there's some over here. At this point, I've built enough comfort and trust with the girl that she knows I'm not a weirdo, so she's a lot more compliant with my idea to take it to the next hotel. I'm aware that I'm not being very impressive, but the fact that I'm so relaxed about it shows that I'm perfectly comfortable with that. And if you think about it, this girl probably had a lot of drunk guys try to talk to her up until I came along. Thought you may have drowned in the toilets.
I might have.
There's cabs over here. Now, as we walk towards the taxi, I try to still engage her in conversation. At this point, you want to keep talking to the girl to make sure that she doesn't have much time to think about what she's doing, because she might get a bit paranoid or whatever, and you just want to kind of engage her logical brain in conversation as you're walking towards the cabs. Where'd you say you're from? California girl. I just came from LA. I loved it, yeah. Except for the fact that it's so dispersed. Well, you need a car to get around. Without it, you're pretty much screwed. Well, other cities like San Francisco, you don't need a car necessarily. Oh, cab over there. Come. Are you always this enthusiastic about everything?
Cold.
Okay, here. I have 3 layers on, so.
It's freezing.
Hey boss, yeah, can we get a taxi? Where you going? The quad. Wait.
Good morning.
Hey man.
Where to?
The quad.
Okay.
It's you know where Caesar's Palace is? Yeah, it's right across. And we end up going back to my hotel. So, how was I able to pull this off? Well, there are a few points you have to notice. First of all, I never expected her to like me at the beginning. In fact, it may even look like she was trying to get away from me for the first minute. But I kept a very light, casual conversation going, and eventually we kind of got seated and had a longer, casual conversation. Secondly, I didn't try too hard to create a fun interaction. I didn't try too hard to try and impress her in any way. I knew I didn't have much energy, I felt like being boring, and I just accepted it and was very congruent with it the whole way through. And finally, when the right time came, I knew how to take the lead. I knew how to say, okay, I like you, do you want to have a drink with me back at the hotel? She said yes, and then we went from there. So, the major lesson that I want you to take away from this is that sometimes it takes a lot less than you might think. Boring game works too. You don't have to be impressive all the time. Yes, being fun and funny is all good, but if you're not in the mood, don't force it. You don't always have to be some alpha character. In fact, it's a lot more valuable if you're just congruent with how you're thinking and feeling at any given point in time. And if you're usually boring, this should give you some hope. So, if you're out and you feel like shit, no more excuses. Make things happen. Thanks for watching.